Okay, good afternoon, everyone, for an impromptu Smudcast. I wanted to make a Smud Talk, but I am just too lazy to copy paste from other Smud Talks. This is easier. So, welcome to 797 of the Smudcast, Fallout TV series talk with the Keyframe Chopper and Mr. Hawke. How you doing, guys?
Reason Mark's muted, so he's obviously doing some Hungarian stuff.
Yeah. That's what Hungarians do. They do everything in silence, and they surprise you with coiled beef.
Racism.
With racism. Surprise, I have made this racist meal for you. Oh, thank you. Oh, geez. Anyway, we have no set agenda. We have no set video to cover. We're just talking about episode 8, really, because I'm still processing. And we can talk about the whole series of the season 1 of Fallout, because they're actually working on season 2, and they're trying to get it out the door as soon as possible, which is fine. You know, if it's popular, people will want more, and the network, or I don't even know how this works with the streaming service, whether they just sign them up for another season, whether the fan reaction causes the network to say, hey, please make more. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But yeah, they're making more. They're working on it, and people love the characters. I can understand why. The probably the most redeeming thing of the show, if you like the show, are the characters, because you're like, okay, Lucy is this wide, blue-eyed girl who isn't sure about the world. She wants to save her dad. Very, very Fallout-esque scenario. So very classic, very simple. I mean, if you want to do a Fallout, do a story about some person exiting a vault and trying to find their dad. That's pretty safe, you would think. And sadly, in the process, they destroyed the lore or changed the lore. They made Ghouls whatever they wanted. They just do everything. Sometimes they're created by nuclear blasts. Sometimes they're created by magical juice, and they need another juice to keep them human, or to keep them feral, from being feral. That's a new thing from the lore. And they're invincible sometimes. Sometimes they can regrow entire shattered limbs, and sometimes they have to sew them back on. We don't know how Ghouls, no one knows how any of this new stuff works. And the fans of the show just go, I don't know, it looks good. So
Ghouls can survive being shot in the back and in the front until Lucy shoots them, at which point they die.
Yeah, it's I don't know, is it headshots? I don't know.
I don't know either. Like, people die and then don't die from certain, but it's like lightsabers in Star Wars.
Oh God, yeah. Now that
Can't kill you.
Yeah, now that I don't know if you guys have ever watched The Acolyte. I haven't. I've just seen clips, but the lightsabers have this new metal that they're
Lightsabers smoke creatures, but can't kill pink-haired Mandalorians.
Oh, really? Well, apparently
I couldn't bother with any.
Yeah, but
Star Wars. I just decided.
Apparently, there's a metal called cortosis that if a lightsaber hits this metal, the lightsaber magically turns off, and
the headbutting thing.
Yeah, and the helmet how Magneto has that helmet that blocks Xavier from reading his mind. Yes. Apparently, that's what the cortosis helmet does, and apparently, the guy who wears the helmet uses it to do that as well. He uses the Force to see. So he has Force vision to see through the helmet, so he could walk, because the slits are so narrow. I'm thinking, wait a second, it blocks perception of Force users, but you could use the Force through the helmet to see. Wouldn't they just use the Force to see who it is under the helmet? Very strange lore. These happening in these shows these days. We don't understand the contradictions. We don't understand the new inventions of compounds that turn you into ghouls, or bullets made out of teeth. That was a thing in Fallout. That was you have a bullet in your arm that has a tooth as the payload. I'm like, who in there? How would you even?
It was rotten as well.
How would that work? Like, you have to get some sort of other metal or other glue to stick the thing onto the cartridge that has the pin that fires the freaking payload, like the gunpowder. And I was like, why go through all that effort because then you wouldn't have a copper casing, because the copper casing covers the lead so that it flies straight. So how would you load that into like, none of this makes any sense. And like, what is the point of that?
How would you last long enough to enter your body?
How would it even work in a chamber of a gun? I don't even know.
Like, can you have like rifle teeth to go down the barrel of a gun?
I get maybe an incisor. I don't know. Is it like a top? Is it shaped like a top? I have no clue.
Yeah, would you, like, so say if you shot someone with like a canine tooth, instead of a molar, how would a molar work? It'd be different sized cases.
You'd have to file it so it would be cylindrical, so that the edges would not cause the bullet. Because when you talk about a bow and arrow, like you have to have like a bow flaps through the air, but the plumage keeps it steady, or more steady than it would normally. Like you put the plumage in the middle or the front of the bow, it would just fly off in random directions. So with no plumage or no balancing of the air resistance to keep it spinning, because you assume the barrel has grooves to spin the calcium of the tooth along the groove. I don't know how that would work. And it would just go on pure velocity and momentum. So maybe it only travels like a few hundred meters before it trails down because of the lack of aerodynamics. I don't know. So there's a lot of.
It really depends on if that tooth is European or African. Really.
I noticed the junk cannon or whatever you call that from Fallout 4.
Oh yes. Oh no.
And it penetrated a guy's spine and his rib cage, because you saw the baby, the plastic baby foot or the baby hand, I can't remember which one it was, coming out of his chest. So that is extremely powerful exit velocity of that gun to penetrate not only a person's body, but his armor, his jacket, all that stuff, to kill him from behind. And it's just the most, like, can you imagine hitting someone with a plastic doll that penetrates his chest? Like how much force you would, I can't even calculate. I'm sure it's, in the thousands of miles per hour to do that explosive velocity for a piece of plastic that's a toy. So yeah, weird.
There are so many scenes like this. Like that was from episode 1 where we got introduced to the Ghoul.
Yeah.
But basically, like there's also like some small backstory about the Ghoul, that he got captured by some big gang leader, and all he does is that like he just digs him out and cuts a piece of the Ghoul and eats it.
Oh, what was that? Like, why would you, like, what's the point? What?
I don't know. Why would you add the information about that?
He does it for fun too, and I'm like, oh, okay. Is that like to make sure he's alive so you could punish him? Like, what does he care? Like, is it his torso? Does he have like a whole leg missing full of meat? Like, what is?
Nothing, because whenever you cut off something or like it blows off, unless you bite it off, of course, it just grows back because ghouls are invincible. They can regrow their body.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of the scene with that Roger fellow that he just knew, and he eats him, and I'm like, that can't be good because it's a ghoul. He's rotted, irradiated, whatever kind of flesh he's got, and it's
very nutritious. Yeah.
I don't know what the hell, like, because the whole thing was like, oh, these are fiends when they fought, because what's his name? Yeah. Maximus pulls back the girl's jacket and there's a knife, and I'm like, oh, these are fiends. I'm like, how do you know they're a fiend? Because they have knives? And in the previous scene we saw the ghoul had a set of knives as well, and he was tearing up Mr. Rogers' flesh and just rawly chomping on it. I'm like, all right, he's a cannibal for whatever reason. But they can't taste, or they don't have a sense of taste. So it's like, okay, so he's not picky, but he's hungry. But he'll just eat anything. So this is what I don't understand. If you're hungry, like if you're a wild animal, you are attracted to your whatever senses that attract you to something. So if it's not taste, that means your sense of smell has to be very acute or very specific to a certain thing, like wild game to, I don't know, whatever bloodied animal in the wild you've got. So there's got to be something else going on with this sense of wildness that an animal like a bear would be attracted to. But are the olfactory nerves of a ghoul very heightened because they're a ghoul, or is it just because that's all they can smell? Like, there's all these silly questions that pop in your mind. Like, how does this work if his humanity is gone and his sense of taste is gone and he's apparently immortal? He can't get killed through bullets. He can't regenerate limbs, but sometimes other ghouls can. So I'm assuming it's like you just turn into a ghoul. Like, can you imagine that? You just turn into a ghoul and like if you're like had like broken legs or I'm missing a tooth, like everything would just start growing back, because that's what happens to ghouls apparently. But over time, like your nose will fall off because that's a Fallout thing in the games. Because I thought the nose came off because you got blasted by a nuclear explosion, and all the things that weren't like, you know, hard stuck down just blasted off your face, because nose is just a piece of cartilage. So it's like, all right, fair enough. It's just, you know, soft, and that would push up against your skull, and that would just get cut off. Fair enough. But no.
Why we don't?
Sorry?
They don't have ears. Ghouls don't have ears.
I think some do. I don't remember exactly. Did the ghoul Cooper have ears? I don't remember.
Because then if it did have ears, your fingers are its cartilage. Why are their ears still there?
Yeah, and if you look at Cooper, he has amazing teeth for being over 200 years old. Like, he's really good jawline, and the teeth are all even, and they're all
9 out of 10
white.
dentists.
9 out of 10 dentists approve of ghoulification.
I'm sure he doesn't really care about his appearance too much, let alone his dental health. It's like, wow, that's pretty good for.
Should have taken that COVID vaccine.
Yeah. So, and he's apparently the most interesting character, but all it is I can't remember the name, the actor's name, but that's the same character he played in Justified.
Yeah, it's Walter Groggins.
Yeah. So,
yeah, Justified.
Yeah, so he's kind of like the cocksure, swarmy, charming thief. What is it? Kind of like a roguish fellow who's really nice and congenial, but he's going to kill you the second. Like that sort of attitude. He's like really friendly. Oh, he's a really nice guy. He's very, very charming with everyone, but then he'll just pull out a gun and blow everyone away. That sort of idea. So same character. So it's like this is a cakewalk for him. He's I'll play the same character I've always played. Give me some CGI. Whatever latex suit you want me to put into and wear a cowboy hat. And it's the same shit. He's just doing the same job. And Lucy is just I'm innocent, and I'm a kung fu master, and I can shoot really easily, but I'm stupid, and everything else is like, okay, fair enough.
My favorite part about Lucy is that, like, this is like what we noticed with Hawke, is that there's that episode where she's forced to fight back against the super duper mart guys who are like just junkies and having like Mr. Handy employed, and like she becomes like a more self-determined character that like she can take things more seriously and not trying to like revert back to her like Vault Dweller attitude. And then suddenly, like the next episode, she just reverts back to like being a naive bitch.
Yeah, and in that episode, she magically fixes Mr. Handy after electrocuting it with the frickin' external paddles, which that's not how external paddles work, but fine. It was like a shock of...
Yeah, defibrillator,
Yeah, the defibrillator machine.
Everyone who'd use it.
Like, that's not how that works. It's not a constant... Like, can you imagine being shocked for like 5 seconds straight of electricity at like 300 joules or whatever it was? Like, that thing would melt. Like, all the heat... Like, you would probably be electrocuted because you're making a circuit with the ground. So, whatever, fine. She shocks the shit out of this Mr. Handy. Then she reprograms it to be whatever, fills it full of Abraxo cleaner, and then she goes to the scene where these stone guys are like, well, I don't think you should do that. Oh, why don't you do it? And then they do it, and she gets decked. So the whole scene is just like the the two guys with guns magically remember they have guns, and then the feral ghouls come after them, and they all kill each other instantly. It's like she doesn't have to do anything. So the fact that this is her change where she wisens up and matures and has a growth whatever. She didn't do anything for it. She just magically kicked a saw blade away from her, and luckily her Pip-Boy is indestructible or whatever. And that I had to slow down that scene because I wasn't sure how the hell she survived the freaking table saw, not sawing her arm in half. But the guy, I guess the guy put the strap around the Pip-Boy, so I'm like, all right, fine. The Pip-Boy is really strong, and we'll go with that. And then after that, all the conflict gets resolved. She does the magical shoot the jumping ghoul in the head, and the power of the bullet just pushes the ghoul 90 degrees to the left, like you see in other stupid TV shows where they do this. Why did the ghoul just fall? They just the ghoul jumps in the air and just falls in a normal arc, as you would expect. Physics.
No, it doesn't, because the ghoul jumps towards her, she shoots, and it flies off to the left.
Yeah.
So the bullet hit it in the front and sent it sideways.
Which means there's a really strong skull that didn't penetrate, and the skull just like got rocked so hard that the rest of the body just flew. That momentum just carried it all the way to the left.
That, or either that, or there's a giant fan somewhere, and someone accidentally switched it on.
Yeah. Like a giant Warner Brothers fist, like a punching, like a boxer's mitt, like with a gun with a boxer's mitt, and just smacked them on the side of the head, and they went flying to the left. Like that would have made some sense, I guess. But apparently, bullets do whatever you want them to do in the fall. And this is a 10mm. This is like the weakest gun in the whole series.
Starting gun. The thing is, when we talk about Lucy, is she is a completely naive character whose sole objective is finding and rescuing her dad. And at the end of 8 episodes, after never becoming anything more than a naive vault dweller who's only after rescuing her dad, they have one sentence with Moldaver, and she becomes a hardened badass who doesn't believe her dad and wants her dad to die. And that's her character. There's nothing else for her character.
She stood there the entire scene with her eyes wide open, and I'm just like, okay, she's in shock. Okay, and she kept being in shock for like the entire scene after like, all these things started happening.
It's like Moldaver saying this stuff. It's like, right, okay, and she provides no evidence, not one scrap of evidence beyond. There's one singular memory in your head of you being with your mum in a field.
Yeah,
I'm telling the truth. It's like,
yeah, I was a bit
How
confused because the mother leaves the vault, and did she help found Shady Sands, or was Shady Sands just there?
What she was suspecting it was that water supply was like being drained by someone, and then she finds out that there's a civilization outside.
Yeah.
But it's never explained if it's Shady Sands that was drawing the water away, and if they were the ones, and how she found them. That means that they are pretty close by, and that is never explained.
Yeah, and they're also really close to Vault 4, where the crazy...
Which is like literally next to Shady Sands.
Yeah, it's right there.
As far as we know.
Yeah, because they walk from Shady Sands to that...
It's next to the crater.
The medical center, and then... But all these vaults are above ground. Like, this is what really pissed me off. They're like this giant garage-looking thing. And it's like, that's a vault? Why would you make a giant structure above ground and literally have the name vault number? I think that's the silliest thing.
That was amazing because recently I saw a speed run of Fallout 1, and it invited the original creators like Tim Kaine, and there was the other guy that made Fallout 1 and 2.
Okay.
And basically they were talking about like, oh, have you seen the show? Oh yeah, like they have all the vaults above ground, and then they were having a small discussion that like, yeah, like we pretty much thought like it's like self-evident that like the vaults have to be on the ground. Or they have to be in the mountains to like hide them away from nuclear fallout.
The point was that they are hidden from everything because they know that
Yeah.
there's going to be a wilderness, there are going to be survivors of some kind, and they're going to go, what's that giant vault structure thing? I guess we could try and open it with all the weapons and all the other crazy radiation powers we've got. And then the explanation, like the setup for all this is like, okay, you guys can own the vaults and do whatever you want with, which I'm assuming is their way of like giving the authority to these groups that have invested in them. So I'm like, okay, Vault Tech is like, we want to implement these strategies, but we don't have enough resources or we ran out of money. So we need you guys to help us. So okay, you can do whatever you want in a vault. And they come up with, well, what if one vault does this? What if one vault does that? And they're like, sure. What?
Don't even get started on that stupid fucking scene.
I don't mind that they have like these are the guys that come up with the random ideas that a vault's going to do A, B, or C. But the way they got there was so like, hey, let's be complete psychopaths.
Yeah.
Like, why?
The best one, the best one, well, one of the best ones is we're inventing a robot that delivers milk to people's doors. So we'll have a vault where one of these robots is in charge so that we can teach it to better sell milk. I'm like, to who? Who are you selling?
All the population, the rest of the population of 2,000 people.
It was so like they were trying to explain. Oh, there's great financial opportunity in whatever the wasteland is. Like, really? What is this financial?
There's a financial opportunity in the end of the world.
Yeah, and I was like, what? How? What?
There's a lot of capital.
Well, then, if you destroy all the money and all the resource or whatever resources you consider valuable at that point in the stage, what exactly do you consider capital? Is it the people? Because that's all that's going to be possibly left in these vaults and whatever technology you bring with them. So it's this bizarre idea of just I'm going to destroy everything. I'm going to destroy everything around me, and therefore I'll have a monopoly on whatever I have. But once you make that logical connection, you're like, well, then there's nothing to compete with because I am in charge, or whatever you want to consider the society at that point, whether it's your progeny or your own made-up vault or whatever. Then all you're doing is arguing within that society. You're not talking about the rest of Earth because you scorched it. There's nothing left. So why would you even? It's the weirdest thing. That
you could have a vault with using illegal immigrants to make super mutants to sell to the highest bidder after you destroyed the world. Who's the highest bidder? Oh, well, it's Vault Tech. Why do you need super mutant soldiers? Because Vault Tech is their own faction. So what's the point?
The mentality has to be something like, well, I have 10 gold and the universe or the world outside of me has 10 gold. If I just destroy the universe outside of me, I have all the gold. And you're like, fair enough. Okay, I understand what you're talking about. But then what do you do? Like, how does that work? Like, how do you make more gold? What's the... How do you make more capital unless you're just trading for some other kind of resource? But then...
The gold is worthless, though. Because
There's no monetary system. You're going back to bartering just on basic survival needs. That's not economics. That's barter.
It's not even basic stuff. It's like, oh, we've got all this money. It's like, right, and who's that money useful to? Well, us 8 people around the table, right? And the people who survived after the war, what do they use? Oh, not our money. Oh, okay. Vault-Tec is poorer in the wasteland than it ever was before.
Yeah, I was immediately thinking of, I don't know if you guys remember or have read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and this is where the world, or the United States at least, is going into like this crazy totalitarian socialist horror story. And John Galt and all these other industrialists, they formed this place called Galt's Gulch. And what they do is one guy mines for oil because oil is useful. Another guy mines for gold because gold is useful. And the other guy herd sheep or whatever. So the guy who mines for gold says, okay, this is useful, but we can use it for money to transact stuff, so we're not all bartering. Like, great. The guy who mines or refines the oil says, oh, well, let's trade gold for oil. Like they create their own society where they can survive by themselves because the whole world's gone to shit. So they're just living in this little, I don't know, capitalist utopia or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. So I'm like, okay, if you explain the economics of a vault where the overseer controls barter or whatever, like one guy is in charge of crops, one guy's in charge of making the meat and raising the cattle or whatever. There's like, fine, this is the system you can create to make a society survive. Because if you're blowing up the world, you got to learn how to survive. And all we have is just a bunch of canned food, which was made hundreds of years ago, presumably. We don't know how this food is made anymore. Like, there's no explanation that there's a society that keeps going. All they're doing is working off reserves that they said can go on for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's like, okay, so if you have basic needs met, if you have water, and you're safe from all the elements, where's the finances? Where's the economy? Where's the capital? What's the value of all this if you're all contained and you're getting by? And I don't know if you're thriving, but at least you're surviving with all the canned goods. What is the profit margin? Like where's the money being made? It doesn't, like, nothing adds up here. I'm just confused as if you want to say we need outside money to make vaults, to make more money, why would you then say, well, then we got to blow up the world? It's like, how? What? Why?
Just got to outlast the competition. It's like, okay, but I got ashes. There's nothing here. Why? Like you say, there's no sense to their entire plan.
Yeah, if they were
none, because even if they destroy them, because their main goal with the control vault, that is like Vault 33, 32, and 31, is to breed super managers, and
to do what?
Yeah, they don't have anyone to manage after they destroy the population, and like there aren't too many control vaults around there, is there? Because all of the inhabitants are incredibly incompetent.
Well, Vault 4 is already gone. So what's who be in charge of?
Vault 4? It does not make any sense. We saw the little clip of the scientist. Well, I still think we could crossbreed. Blah blah blah. And you're like, great. Then what? Like, why are there pregnant women in stasis in hyperbolic chambers? Did you just impregnate them? How did you do that? What is the process? Is this thing that happened 200 years ago? Is it just happened this year? Like, oh, this is a remnant and we wanted to ease their pain. From when? Did you cause the pain? What is going? Like, they didn't explain any of that whole scenario. And it's as if, oh, you can never go to, like, oh, don't ever go to level 12 or whatever. It's like, well, why? What's the big deal? Oh, this is my uncle on my mom's side. I was like, that's a goddamn monster. That's not your uncle. Someone spliced their DNA of 3 generations ago?
Yes.
And well, my uncle.
But how did you become a Cyclops?
Well, that's another weird thing. There's a lot of this, like, they just threw it up in the air. Like, here's the weird, wacky Vault 4, and they come from sea creatures. It's like, do we care? Like, they just drop it. Like, usually when you play a Vault... you play a Fallout game and you explore a vault, there's usually a resolution. Like, you kill everyone in the vault, or you blow it up, or you let them go, or they realize that, oh yeah, we should stop doing this. And there's like so many vaults to talk about. We can talk about the giant vegetation experiment, that all the gigantic, because the NCR wanted to grow food, so they want you to explore in New Vegas I can't remember the name of the vault, the number of the vault, but it's the one with all the
22.
The 22 with all the giant mushrooms, and the people got turned into these green men, and this fungus just kept producing and taking everything over and mass producing all kinds of nutrients. And like, yeah, you kill everyone in the vault, or you steal the tech and you give it to the NCR. Like, there's all kinds of solutions to that. And this was just like, no, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to let you go. And you're like, that's it? That's the stakes? Oops, sorry, bye. Never come here again. Like, what? That's not conflict resolution. That's just no conflict. Have a great life. Go on with the next plot point. That's all that is.
Yeah.
It's like going to a village and you did poorly by the village and you got excommunicated. It's like, okay, well, see you. Like if you're watching a fantasy story or whatever, like imagine that sort of scenario.
Yeah. See you next time.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all. And the thing with we should give them back the fusion core. It's like, why?
Because they don't even leave them. They just like go back and like drop that thing again.
They literally like the first time they go there, Maximus is about to steal it in the first place. Like it's nothing, and they just let him do it. Like there's no security.
And then he gets easily persuaded that like, hey, look, there's free food here and clean bar as well.
He gets angry. The guy in the hallway, the first guy he saw who was smiling. He's like, "What is this?" And it's caviar. And you're like, this is incredible. And then he just starts eating popcorn all day. I'm like, okay, you got suckered in by amenities and bad TV shows. Like, what is going on?
Mark, it's like on Red Dwarf, caviar niblet. We've got to get out of this hellhole.
and the worst part of that whole thing...
I wish I was watching Red Dwarf.
Yeah, well, that's a comedy, so it's supposed to be stupid, but... the worst part about
that's the way it's like you're watching it thinking, is this show meant to be serious? Like,
no way.
Because it tries to play a lot of stuff as serious, and can't use the idea of it being tongue in cheek. Because stuff that happens that just. Like, I don't know how to explain it. By watching it, I just don't know what this show wants to be.
Yeah. A lot happens either off camera or in between scenes. Like, even the scene where Maximus gets the fusion core, like, we see Lucy in the hall and the lights go off, right? And then we cut to Maximus pulling the fusion core out, somehow getting... Like it just goes from that to him walking down the hall in his power suit. But I'm like, okay, wait a second. That takes like minutes to get back to the room because the power suit was just, in straps or whatever. It takes a while to jack in, put the power core in, get going, then start running, and then boom, it's just as if he did this all in like in the cutscene or in the cut. And boom, he's fighting. Like, let her go, whatever he's saying. Like, there's no sense of time with these things. And then the whole problem with Vault 4, there's a lot of problems. I was just said already with Vault 4. The fact that when they find him, they find Lucy and Maximus, okay, they wrap up his arm, and that's stupid, but then they unwrap it, and then they take this thing out, and they wrap it back up, whatever dumb medical procedure, I don't care. But they tell him, oh yeah, we found your power armor. It's like, how do you know he had power armor? And we brought it back. It's like, how did you bring it back?
I don't know how far they travelled as well from leaving the power armor. They travelled into the bridge.
It's like saying, oh yeah, we found your car. It's like, you knew I had a car? Yeah, then we drove it back and we refueled it and we put it in our garage. It's like, how did you do that?
But it's not just like, like the power armor was like next door to the vault. We're talking it's some distance away. It's like parking your car up, like in downtown New York, and then traveling like 40 blocks, and then going, oh yeah, we found your car.
Yeah, and he hid it. He covered it up in a tarp, and he laid it down, and I'm like, okay, so he purposely hid it, but that means they must have talked to him off screen saying, hey, are you a member of the Brotherhood? Oh, yes. Hey, did you have power armor? It's like, oh, yes. Hey, can we go looking for it? Oh, yes. But they didn't tell him that because what's her face? Birdie, or I guess her name was Birdie, told Lucy, oh, yeah, we found your friend's power armor, as if this was just a thing everyone knows, like the script knew, and forgot to tell that, the omniscient reader's viewpoint, or the
audience.
Yeah, the audience knew, but the actual characters in the show assumed they also knew, I guess. So
the writers went, Do we explain how they found the armor, or do we make Maximus go, my pee-pee explodes?
Oh God, yeah.
I know what we're to do. Pee-pee explodes.
The whole thing about him not knowing what sex is in a military organization that's religious, they wouldn't care about sex. It's like, wait a second, how did they get those numbers? They just steal people off like from the Knights, and you're a member of the Brotherhood now. Like, you don't think they'd have like not necessarily breeding farms, but just families who are good. Like, you get a knight, you get a position, and they say, "Wow, you've really done your service. Now we give you a wife, or now we're going to allow you to have a family. You can go off finding a mate." Like, none of that explain at all. But they did not have any explanation for, like, they're talking about circuits and diagrams and ancient technology, but biology, we have what's sex? We have no idea, guys. We have no concept. We can't tell you this. No one knows the secrets of procreation. It's like, it's not a secret. You have it innate. You get aroused, not because you saw a pretty sunset. Every male wakes up with a semi-erection because that's how the human body works. And no one said why, how, what.
Even in the show, there's a guy like having a wank in a bed, Brotherhood camp, if you even see it.
Yeah.
Really?
They obviously know. Yeah. You don't remember, I mean, it's not a scene that I wish to keep going back to, but it's quite clearly, quite clearly happening. But this is one of the major problems, though, with Fallout, with Bethesda stuff and everything, is the fact that everything feels like the apocalypse happened 5 minutes ago.
In the case of Maximus, I guess technically he actually makes that comment to Lucy. It happened, 30 years ago.
Yeah, with the Shady Sands, but like the actual main apocalypse, it just feels like it was 5 minutes ago. That's why every faction in Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and even in this show, they don't feel like things that have existed for 200 years. They feel like they've just popped up. The apocalypse was last week.
Yeah, none of the things that happen in Fallout 1 or 2 really appears in this version. It just seems to have some references to events that happened, like the warship, but that was more like a nod, and that's all. Like, none of those locations that you visited in 1 and 2 exist in the TV show, and that is amazing, because it's literally just the boneyard and the surrounding areas.
Yeah,
and yet, people like the Fiends still exist, but you don't see anyone who claims to be NCR. That is the craziest thing.
And the fact the Brotherhood occupies Philly for no, episode 8, we just took over Philly for no reason.
Why do they want to return other than to save on location?
Yeah, we need a forwarding base.
There's no strategic reason to go to Philly.
What's his name?
That is at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, Thaddeus calls in for a pickup or whatever, and it's like, okay, great. Yeah. While we're gonna pick up Thaddeus, let's take over Philly. It's like, why? Well, there's no reason.
The Ghoul literally shut up the place.
Yeah, but if you want to set up a base, just set up a base. There's plenty of space to do a forwarding operation base to strategize your next moves, because after they pick up the cold fusion thing, then it's like, okay, what do we do? But because there was no cold fusion thing, they then attack the observatory, and you're like, all right, cool. Why didn't you do this before? You knew where. Was it because Maximus told them it was the observatory? I don't remember the scene very well because it was just so dumb.
Maximus tells them where they are heading, because Lucy knows that where the location is. Lucy knows it from episode 2, because the old lady tells her the correct location. Moldava.
Oh, that's
they don't go to Moldava straight away because they need the head.
Yeah, I was confused about that, because when she gets near the door, it says you have arrived at your destination on her Pip-Boy, and I was like,
yes.
Is that because the tracker is near her and that's the first thing she looked at?
No, like she types it into her Pip-Boy,
Oh, okay.
like the location.
Yeah.
And that is just so odd. Like they don't do anything with that information until episode 8.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
I was a bit confused about
Don't do
that.
anything for episode 8. There's no reason for episode 2 to 7 to exist.
Yeah, the whole I'm still shocked by, as I said before the stream, was that power armor guy, the headless power armor, just enters the room where that stupid scene is with Lucy and this is like Moldaver
Oh,
partially turned on the cold fusion thing. It was like 95% done to be turned on. And then, okay, I'm jumping ahead here, but she does eventually turn it on before she passes out or whatever. And all the lights start turning on, and I'm like, are you serious? You think all this time without power, the lights were just, the circuit was complete and it was just waiting for juice and every light just started turning? Like, that's not how, like, 200-year-old or whatever, however old this setup is, for the lights to come back on as if it's a working network of power cables in a city. That's, it would not happen that way. There would be shortages, there would be brownouts, there would be white, there'd be all kinds of problems. But no, you just give it some juice and boom, the whole network just lights up like was off for an hour ago.
What?
Anyway, the thing I want to talk about was the headless power armor guy, because we previously learned that there's a weak spot in the chest plate. Like, oh wow, that's already a horrible reveal, because we had the fight scene in episode 2, or was it 3, where the Ghoul is just losing against Maximus in the power armor, and then he looks at a bullet that looks like a drill, or looks like, I don't know, a stupid looking bullet. I don't know how bullets work like that. But apparently, you put that in your magical gun that could blow through bodies like they're basketballs going through hoops. He's like, a little hole in the chest plate. Let's see if they fix that problem. Boom, the guy dies instantly. And you're like, oh, well, I guess they didn't. You're like, okay, thank you. That's nice to know. Stupid, but fine. And then the tense scene with Lucy and her dad, and then this guy opens the door, and no head, no blood. Walks a few steps, falls over, and then we have Maximus pop in. And Lucy's all like, duh, stunned of all the revelations that have been attacking her brain. And then her dad's like, I'm Lucy's dad, save me. He's like, okay. Lucy, what's going on? And she's like, duh. It's like, the whole scene is stupid.
I like how Lucy's, Hank is his name.
Yeah.
Goes from being incredibly level-headed, really, calm and collected, to then just maniacal, laughing villain. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I had to stop Shady Sands because I can't remember the reason. It was just they were not. I had to get rid of all the factions or something like that. You're like, but they're fine. They're living. Your wife is there, right? It's like, yes, your wife wanted to go see, because the wife believes in what Hank believes, which is to save the world. And that's like fine. But Hank was like, no, we got to save it in our method, which is to kill everyone. Like, wait, that's not what you wanted. You didn't want to do that. You want to just save whoever you could find. That was the message that Lucy got. That was what the message her mom got. But apparently middle management had other ideas. I was like, okay. So now Vault 33 has access to nukes and can just blow stuff up whenever they want. We don't know how. And it's just like, okay, we're going to kill everyone again. And then repopulate the earth with middle management, buds people? How long would that take, Hank? What do you...
Just repopulating with middle management is repopulating with utterly incompetent middle management.
But it doesn't make any sense. Like, how are you going to do that? You're going to just, every time you see a new faction, you're going to nuke them? How many nukes do you have? What's the time frame? Like, what's the scope? How are you going to grow these crops to feed new settlements? How are you going to make new settlements? Like, there's no thought behind any of this aside from, well, I'm a bad guy now. because the story wants me to be a bad guy. So I'm the one who nuked Shady Sands. Like, why did you do that? Factions
But how
are
do you
bad.
nuke it? So how do you nuke it again? It's like, because you couldn't plant a bomb under Shady Sands,
No.
and there's no missile silos. So how do you do it? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh no, I didn't think of it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and if we remember correctly from Fallout lore, Shady Sands was based off an actual Gek. That's the great irony of Fallout 2, I think, that you get the Shady Sands and there's a settlement. It was formed by a Gek and everyone's getting by and there's homes and stuff. You're thinking, oh, it's a Vault-Tec thing. So wouldn't they have taught Hank about Geks and how to rebuild society? Because that's the whole plan of Vault 33. And he's like, oh, I didn't know they used a Gek. Maybe it was like the evil faction we disagree with. And that would have been like, oh, okay, so they stole something from Vault-Tec, and maybe he always wanted to stop the usurpers or the thieves and get it back, and the best way to do that was just to nuke them. And you're like, give me a reason outside of, well, the best way to stop factions is to eliminate them. It's like, not in the planet Earth. Like, that's a very big surface area to save and conquer or whatever. And I don't think you have all the nukes or mini nukes or whatever to stop that from happening. So there's all these dumb things to make to have that last episode be a series of revelations that just keep changing. Oh, Lucy goes, and she's like completely wide-eyed, like you're watching Ray from episode 8, just like staring at the camera with her mouth wide open the entire time.
You could see the lone singular cog of Lucy's brain giving up halfway through the conversation.
She had no lines. She had no dialogue. She stood there.
Well, even Lucy's dad is all he ever does is that, like, Lucy, don't listen to her. She's lying, Lucy. And then like it's quiet for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, like, listen, she's lying, and then it stays quiet again.
I just love the fact that the entire thing just Molly going, yeah, by the way, I was a lesbian with your mum. I'm great. Join me. It's like, oh, okay.
No explanation how Moldaver survived.
None, not at all.
I was assuming it was the same thing as putting a cold fusion something in your neck, and she just didn't know the formula. Maybe she wasn't the scientist. But the thing is, with the cold fusion bullshit, that was made by an Enclave guy, like last week or whatever it was.
Or I was thinking like everyone at the Enclave knows how to do that.
I guess.
Yeah, kept alive communism, because communism never dies.
Well, that's the problem with this whole nonsense with cold fusion. Oh, it's going to be unlimited energy. It's like you already have nuclear fusion. Like, that's the whole point of Fallout, is you have this abundant resource, but something is causing war to occur, and they use this abundant resource to wage war. So it could have been like food or water or whatever. I don't care. Make up a reason why the end of the world happened in the way that happened in the Fallout games, which is too many people, not enough resources. So it's like, okay, if you have nuclear fusion, which humanity is still trying to figure out, and we have all these tokamak engines and various, like we have point engines, and like with the States is doing their own experiments to figure out nuclear fusion, and you have it, then you've already solved the majority of the problems on planet Earth, which is energy, which is the driving force of any economy. So imagine having infinite fuel or infinite power, which nuclear fusion is. The only way that would be superseded or subversive would be if it's regulated, if it's extremely expensive now, which doesn't make any sense, because then you would just have competing energies, which would be super cheap. So everyone would be like, flying around the world in jets because it would be expensive, right?
With the nuclear fusion thing in Fallout, they don't have it in a unlimited resource, because they're still using petrol and oil. That's why the resource wars happen. That's why like small nuclear wars in the Middle East between Europe and stuff.
Right.
And that's why the Chinese invade Alaska for the oil.
Right. They do have microfusion cells. They do have the fusion cores, but they have fusion in some capacity, right? So it's like, okay, great. Explain that so that we can understand that cold fusion is this amazing thing, because they just say cold fusion like the audience knows what that means, aside from it being pseudoscience in reality, and explain how that will change the world to have this unlimited, because the whole thing about Fallout is we need clean water, we need to grow crops, we need to eat to survive, we need to protect ourselves from the wilderness. It's like that's like step one. And step two would be, okay, let's get back to civilization. Let's find old technology or whatever. And then the Brotherhood comes in. You have all these like steps, and then it's like, oh, this factions is for or against that. With New Vegas, like, oh, we have the Hoover Dam. Everyone's going to get all this power. Who's going to be in charge of it?
Yeah, fighting for energy and everything like that. Like Fallout 3, you had Project Purity.
Yeah,
With the war.
You have these big like solutions that could tip the scale in either faction. So when you say we're gonna get this New Vegas plot, you're like, great. What? How could it be like? Why make it unlimited? Like, just say it's this new energy source that no one's ever had before, and we could maybe mass produce it or whatever. Like, give me a reason what this is gonna work so that it's different.
That's all it is. It's just the MacGuffin to get the plot going.
Yeah, there's no mention of Hoover Dam from, was it 5 years ago, whenever the events in New Vegas occur?
None. Like something like an event of that scale have no mention. Or any of the NCR military having any relevance there.
That would have been vital to this plot, because if you have the Hoover Dam, not to say Hoover Dam is unlimited, but it's a source of power, which if you keep the turbines going and maintained, it would keep going. So that's pretty much this whole argument is, well, it's not unlimited, but it's still a factory. It produces power, and that will change things for sure. But if they don't mention that, then you're just forgetting the lore, because it's contrary to your plot, your drama, your conflict. And we're going, what the frickin' hell is cold? Like, does cold fusion make you immortal? Is it radiative? Is it clean radiation? Like, what does it do? So there's all this stupid pseudo crap scientific bullshit that they don't even mention. They just say it's a thing, so we can hunt down some dude's head that everyone wants.
Yeah. It's also hilarious that like it is next to Los Angeles, right? And like from Fallout 2, we know that like there are some descendants of the Chinese government in San Francisco, because the submarine parked there, so they are known as the Shi. And in Fallout 4, there's reference to them that like one of the characters was there. Yet we don't see any reference to that. It's just boggles the mind.
Yeah, no mention of super mutants aside from, I think it was the conference room talk. The West Tech or whatever wanted to breed.
West Tech, and there's like a small scene in the beginning of episode 2 where the Enclave scientist like goes through the other department, and there's a body that they are taking away, and it looks like it's mutated.
Oh.
It really annoys me when you mentioned the super mutants, obviously at the conference, especially because he goes, we'll use illegal immigrants, because it's once again this show just putting 2020's politics into a universe that doesn't have it. It's really annoying.
Yeah, well,
there's no immigration crisis in because America just invades everybody.
Well, I like that they showed the flashbacks with a high degree of McCarthyism and how people were being fired from Hollywood because they were pinkies or whatever they call them, commies, or I can't remember the exact term, but the fact, oh yeah, the fact that they had that, it's like, oh, great, give me some of that background story about why things are the way they are at that point in time to constitute this whole crazed ramping up to war. And there's no ramp. It's just, oh, we're going to blow up the world because
It's not even that. It's 2077 Fallout is just 2024 California, just with 1950s aesthetic, and you're like, right, okay, because all the problems that they deal with are like 2024's California, and also it's like they seem to have forgotten that Fallout's not the same universe as our universe. It's an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Very thin. Like, people are going to say, oh, well, racist, blah, 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 blah. But the fact that Cooper is married to a black woman is going to be virtually impossible with Fallout because there's no civil rights movement.
Or Westag being led by an Asian person.
And considering the fact by 2077, they were literally putting them into concentration camps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
There's even a log in New Vegas in the Big Empty that several Asian Americans got put in the POW camps next to the Chinese American, like the Chinese, because
there's logs in Fallout 4.
Yeah, that too.
So the fact that
whatever happened to them?
They lived happily ever after.
They didn't turn into insane ghouls.
No, but this is something that annoyed me about the show, when I was watching it, because it was like you say, there's no ramping up to anything. It's just they just gone, Baltic or evil, we're just going to blow the world up. Whereas in the games, you could see that the whole place was like the whole world was collapsing due to the sheer insanity of people, and like things were slowly like collapsing step by step. Like you could even go back to like the 2050s or 2040s and see the slow progression of certain things. Whereas this, it's like it's in like a space of a month. Voltage went off, sod it, and let's blow the whole world up.
Yeah, no, there's a lack of not only technical detail but dramatic detail between Maximus and Lucy for a lot of the scenes, and it was just sort of strange that, oh, you're a person I can believe in because you saved me, or you fought for good people back in the time when Mr. Maximus was jumping around for joy being in a piece of armor. And this is the only thing that Lucy believes in because everyone else that she's met sucked. And you're like, okay, fair. You believe in Maximus. That's it. That's the only good thing she's got aside from her family outside of Hank from the vault. That's it. So it's like, all right, I believe in Max. And Maximus does this nice thing where he's, all right, I'll give you the head, and I'll Thaddeus, I don't even know what the point of Thaddeus was. He was just there, and he changes his mind. Oh, I guess I'm a ghoul.
Comic relief.
He could have been used so much better as this friend foe character who he wants to keep his secret, and he's also a bully, but he realizes, oh, wait a second, being a bully is bad, and this guy's trying to save my life. Like if they both went back to the Brotherhood, like they could have used all this drama between them and what's going to happen, what's Thaddeus going to say, what's Maximus going to say, like there's great tension, and they just say, oh, thanks, sorry for shooting at you, bye. You're like, what? That's like they escape all the tension, they escape all the conflict because the next scene has to play out, which to me is a concept of where the writer either has two writers or the writer's room has two writers, and they just sort of like, okay, you do episode 7, we got to get that out the door. You do episode 8, we'll get that out the door, and they're not communicating because these are very simple scenes that could involve a lot more drama. I don't care if they're side characters; it doesn't really matter. We want the main characters to reflect this scene of their reality, which is, I'm doing this to save Lucy. I'm doing this to save Thaddeus. I'm trying to stay alive as well. Because the Brotherhood, for whatever stupid reason, that cleric, we got to make a new Brotherhood, and I'm going to be in charge. I'm like, what? Why? Oh, the Brotherhood is corrupt. It's like, then fix it. Don't make a new one. What are you talking about? You can't just break off from the Brotherhood. They're going to hunt you down. There's going to be this civil war. Like, this is nonsense. This guy who's a devout cleric, whatever a cleric is in the TV show. We're not even sure what that means. And he's just gonna start up a new chapter and just declare independence. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, what's going on? At least build up to that. Like if it was like he makes the realization that maybe not all power is bad. Maybe I can use it for good. And the Brotherhood has lost its way. And they talk about corruption. They talk about how using cold fusion could help the world as opposed to just keeping it for ourselves. Like there's all kinds of paths you could take with the Brotherhood, which Fallout games have done. Almost everyone.
Why the Brotherhood? Like, we don't really know which version of the Brotherhood this is either. They never make it clear because with the split, there's two separate versions, isn't there? Especially in the Fallout games.
Yeah.
We have the West Coast and East Coast.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming it's the East Coast because of the Prydwen, but I don't know. They don't explain anything because they just invent new stuff for the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like the cleric, that rank doesn't exist in the games. So they've just created a brand new thing. Also, the rank that Maximus is to begin with doesn't exist.
Aspirin.
Oh God! Remember the scene right at the end of the well, not near the end, but right where what's that trans chick? I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, Maximus has slain the whatever. He is now Knight Maximus." And I'm like, "No, that's not how that works."
Why do you say that?
No,
I don't think
it's like
aspirants can declare other aspirants to be knights or whatever.
Oh, they are squires.
Squire, yeah, you can't. A squire cannot appoint a squire to become a knight in that fashion, but everyone just starts cheering. I'm like, what?
Especially in her position where she just like did self-harm to herself because she was afraid.
That was such an offhand thing. It's, oh yeah, by the way, I'm sorry.
That was such a terrible setup as well.
Because she saved his life or whatever by saying, okay, I want to make sure you're alive, so I'll say that. Well, I can't remember what she said, but she saved his life.
I was the one who hurt myself. So anyway, he did lie about the head, but please let him go.
Yeah,
and he also lied about his knight, and he lied about other things. And to be honest with you, he's actually quite a disgusting, horrible, scummy person. But let's give him everything, and let's not let him earn anything.
That scene with the elder, that was ridiculous. Like they just said, like,
elder.
well, you think like you're the first one who ran with the armor.
You coveted his knight's armor, yeah, or something like that.
The guy's a cleric because the clerics run the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
clerics.
No, the elder runs the Brotherhood. Elder Maxon, who's in charge of.
The highest up is the 6 agencies that we still don't know what the fuck they are.
6 agencies. Who the fuck are they? I still think the Republic of Dave is one.
Yeah.
It's like I put a list up. It's like Republic of Dave, Little Lamplight.
Who else? The car mechanic for Fallout 2.
Yeah. Fucking, I don't know. There's so many you could just name.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of 6 agencies, it's like no one cares. This is the problem. The world building of this show is terrible. So you can't really center anything because it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
Of everything. It just feels like watching it. It was like I felt like I was just moving from set to set, not that I was in a actual.
Yeah. If
world.
If they kept the set, if they kept the Philly as pick a location, doesn't really matter. Like if Philly was the main hub, it would make a heck of a lot more sense how they're able to find each other. And just like what, because every scene, it's like, how did this ghoul find the gas station where the dog was? Like, there's no reason. Oh, he bends over and tastes the mud. It's like, what is that? How does that work? Was he tracking mud from Thaddeus? And this must be Thaddeus's mud. I'm like, no, he had no idea that was Thaddeus with mud or whatever.
Does he even know about Thaddeus at that point?
He has no idea. Like how? Where did he gets? Yeah, he gets captured by those lawmen from some random dude that he knows.
The government.
Yeah.
The government that we never know, like which government.
And they accuse him.
Is this the NCR? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, they accuse him of shooting up the place, and he's like, "Yeah, that was me." When he didn't shoot up the place, he could have just said, "No, I was. It was the doors open, and I walked in." He could have just said that. And it's like, "Well, you stole from them." It's like, "Yeah, but everyone was dead. Like, what do you want me to do? I needed the juice, and they promised it to me, and I was waiting along, and then all the ghouls escaped, so I just took the juice and had a good time." It's like, well, like they could have just like gave him a slap on the wrist, but no, he acted like a tough guy for whatever reason, and kills them. It's like, what's the point of this?
He's a psychopath that wants to kill everybody. This is why I don't understand why people like his character. He's got no redeeming quality.
Yeah, he's an evil bastard. And at the end, where's my family? It's like, how do you, like, that's the plot of the next story? He's hunting down his family. We have no idea how they survived.
Because Fallout is about family. That's what's
so
powerful about it.
That is true. I agree that most of the plots in Fallout is about hunting down a family member. But the fact that he's been doing this for 200 years and now he gets the chance? Like, Vault 33 was above ground, dude.
That is such a bizarre scene as well. Remember when he gets to the governor's office and the fat guy who eats like something, and then he looks at posters of people that are wanted, and then the ghoul sees a picture of Moldaver, like a sketch, and then asks the guy that who is this person? That's Moldaver. Well, that's not how I remember him. And it's just like Moldaver looks exactly the same like 200 years ago. It just has shorter hair. That's all.
That's it. She wears glasses.
She wears glasses. Like even through that, like the ghoul can't recognize her from a drawing that barely even resembles her.
Like I say, the whole thing.
So like, how the fuck didn't like the ghoul bump into Moldaver? Like, because the only reason is that
200 years.
He was captured by that gang conveniently around that time when Moldaver and Lucy's mom met with each other. But like, he never wandered to Shady Sands or any of those areas.
What, in the 200 years he was alive before then?
And never met a single Vault-Tec employee.
No. I don't know. The world building of this show doesn't make sense because nothing makes sense in this.
It felt like the ghoul just like rise from his grave like after 200 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I want my family."
Yeah, and then you have to think about as we saw on that screen, that Norm, like that's the only character I actually care about because he's actually trying to figure stuff out, and he's scared and he's weak. It's like, yeah, this is the guy you root for because he's the guy who doesn't leave the vault, and he's finding secrets, and that's an interesting story because there's a vault within a vault within a vault, and that's kind of cool. And he looks at the screen and he discovers that there's like Stephanie was the first one, or at the bottom of the list, and then like there's Hank, and then there's Rose or whatever, Ruby, or I can't remember the black chick's name. And it's like, okay, so they all were in on the plot of Vault 33. And you have to assume, like, this is the whole thing, that we assume that Stephanie was nefarious because she probably poisoned those guys in the
We'll never know.
We don't know.
We'll never tell her.
Yeah, but as like this was set up, or it should have been set up in episode 2, because this is the scene where Norm is assigned to deliver food, and there's all these scenes of him talking to the guard and getting Jello cake and blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, he's gonna kill him because his dad died, or his dad got captured. All these people died. We're wasting resources. We're running out of water. All these reasons, like, oh, there's all this motivation, and he's about to do it, and then the next day they all die, and he's like, oh my God, someone got ahead of me. What happened? It must, like, there's no other explanation aside from Stephanie, because the water chip is just thrown out the door. No one cares. Jello cakes, and they keep feeding these guys, so it's no big deal. They have all the things were fixed from Vault 32, which is assume that Vault 31 guys just fixed everything, excluding the water chip. So there's no conflict, there's no rush, there's no tension. It's just, oh, they just killed him, and it's like that's like you're 6 episodes late. Like you should have done this as is. Then you would have this whole conspiracy and investigation and mystery in the show. Give us some goddamn suspense. Like, oh my God, there's a murderer among us. And because all the vault tech guys are all the vault doors are very like, nice and kind. How could this be? Who did this? Bah, bah, bah. And then you have this actual nefarious vibe, aside from this made up bullshit with the black lady, sneaking behind him and doing all these nefarious things. And what's Vault 31 all about? The only thing we get is that stupid conversation in chat across the overseer terminal. It's like, oh, have you been compromised? It's like, I need to meet you now, or whatever. It's like, oh wow, so suspenseful. They're chatting to each other. Ooh, and then we find the guy, and he's this stupid brain in a jar, and this is like, oh, this is so stupid. This is not intimidating. This is a joke. And
I still don't know how those people died drilling into Vault 31 in like
they turned into skeletons
in perfect poses. There's a guy kneeling. No, there's a guy kneeling with a blowtorch, and he's knelt, and he's a skeleton knelt with a blowtorch. How do you die in that position?
And just decompose, like perfectly preserved.
Yeah, in 3 years. How do you get to that?
Yeah.
In a perfect. So they killed each other, and I'm like, right, okay, and they committed suicide and stuff. I'm like, okay, but some of these positions they're in, these people weren't like. You can't die like that. You would slump to the ground.
Like rigor mortis would set in, but.
Vault 31 doesn't clean up Vault 32. No one knows who cleans up Vault 32.
You have no idea.
It has to be, because there's 24 hours go by and everything's like fresh paint and whatever.
But only Bud is inside Vault 31 as like that small sweeper.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Who isn't even a robo brain. Like that is the most pathetic robot I've ever seen.
Yeah, why didn't they use the robo brain model?
I know. Because like the robo brain was developed by the U.S. Army and General Atomics, so it makes no sense they use something else. You know what? I know exactly why. Because the cost efficiency. They didn't want to put more money into this show.
They put so much money in the show. The 8-9 million an episode or whatever it was.
Yeah, but like
I think the budget of each episode of Fallout is the same as the entire budget of Godzilla -1.
No, -1 was each episode, but -1 was like a few $1 million. The total budget for Fallout TV show was $175.
$175? Just 170? No wonder it was shit. $175.
Million.
Yeah, Godzilla -1 was 15 million.
15 million, okay. That is a generous amount.
So eight episodes divided by 175 million, it's nearly 15 million each. So yeah, each episode is the same budget as Godzilla -1. That's insane. Can we talk about how episode 8, the revelation that Moldava used Lucius Bum's Pip-Boy, still doesn't make sense how she got into the vault? Because I figured this out, right? And this makes the show even worse, right? The only way into the vault is through Vault 33's main door.
Because we never see any other doors.
Exactly. And that door has an alarm to it, which informs people when they leave. So Moldava somehow got through there, didn't set the alarm off, snuck through Vault 33 with 12 raiders, to Vault 32's door, opened that up without anyone realising, to hide in there for 2 years, to then come out and pretend there was members of the vault.
Yeah, but that means that, because what's her name, again, the black lady whose name escapes me, said that she buried Norm's mom, which then means somehow they dug her up and turned her into a ghoul? Or was she a ghoul and then they buried her and then they dug her back up?
Or that black woman was just lying.
Or she was lying. Yeah, there's so many things. I'm like,
she's right there in episode 8.
it's just like.
But my main point is, Moldiver can't get into Vault 32 without somebody realizing. There's no way for her to get into there at all. There's no entrance or exit apart from through Vault 33, and somehow she walked through there with 12 raiders, and no one noticed. And also with them having the alarms on the Pit Boys, how would no one notice the door being opened?
It's the same problem with episode 1 that no one's Geiger counter was going off when those raiders came in, until Lucy decides to look at her Pip-Boy and the Pip-Boy decides to work again. Yeah,
I just don't. This is the thing. So the entire premise of the show starts off with something that can't happen.
Yeah, as soon as that door would have opened, everyone's Pip-Boy would have going bip, 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 and it was like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. And like the show, because Norm goes through everything, there's no other entrances to the Vault 32 and 31 other than the singular doors between them.
No.
So Moldiver's snuck in to 2 vaults without anyone realizing and hidden there for 2 years.
With her entourage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who seems to be raiders that used to be NCR citizens.
Yeah, but they're crazy people.
They're completely insane.
Yeah, but they show the NCR that Moldiver leaves, and they don't act anything like the people she took in to the vault.
Yeah.
Like they're still civilized. Yet those 12 people she took into the vault are crazy, insane lunatics who take drugs. Like, right? Yeah, we're NCR. You're clearly not. But then again, the other NCR people it must be a vault thing, because every member of the NCR in a vault turns crazy, like those blood cultists.
Yeah.
Vault 4.
That wasn't... nobody talks about that.
That was just creepy, and I don't know why they did that. It was just this weird thing. If Moldiver was just part of some marauder gang, or just make up a gang, it doesn't matter, because no one cares. They're not going to have time to fill in a backstory anyway. But to say they're ex-NCR is like, wait a second. Are you trying to tell me ex-NCR people or whatever are going to be a bunch of lunatics because their city got blown up? Because the whole thing was that, after Shady Sands, people formed Philly, and they survived. Everyone was a survivor from Shady Sands, and they just give up on the rules.
There's other settlements as well. Like by 2181 or 2, which is when New Vegas is set. The NCR has 5 states and 5 cities. So Shady Sands being destroyed shouldn't have destroyed the NCR. Like, there's other places, but they get treated like they're just living in a hovel now.
Yeah.
Weird. Like I say, there's no. The world building is non-existent, so you get no like scale or sense of anything, and you get no like connection. So you don't actually care what's happening.
Yeah, it's a very small world, and the good part is that the ghoul has a dog who could sniff out Ringo Bingo's head. Lucy has a tracker that tells her where to go. So it's like, all right, you got that. But how they intersect with each other makes no sense. There's no sense of distance and time. Like the one episode where how does Thaddeus know where to go to find a radio tower just by listening to the radio? Makes no sense. And then the guy on the radio is like, do not come and visit me. We don't take visitors. And he somehow visits him and survives all the traps. And it's just like, did he see, like, how did he know there's a giant tower on the top of a hill? And then you actually do a zoom out, because that's when the the vertibirds are flying towards them, and they screwed up the angle again in the second scene. The vertibirds are flying in the opposite direction toward the radio tower. The radio tower is not that tall. It's maybe 2-3 stories. Whereas from the distance that you see Lucy and Maximus walking towards the hill, it's like 5-6 stories. Like you can clearly see a little tower there. Unless this is some other place. I don't know. There's all these scenes that don't add up, and the time of day is exactly the same. It's still sunny, like early evening, not too dark, and it's like, okay, I guess you need lighting for this shootout scene with Thaddeus, but it's like they can just traverse the wilderness, like the desert, like you would imagine in New Vegas when you hit that river. It's all just sand, and there's like all these rad scorpions and all these ants. You're like, yeah, just walk through it. There's nothing stopping them. Like they bring up rad scorpions with Maximus. They bring up what the hell were they? That the dog was eating. That the dog had to fight. I think it was another rad scorpion. I can't remember.
Roaches.
Rad roaches. Yeah, it's like that's about it. There's no other. Like, it's all people. There's no aside from the bear creature, but that was stupid. That was just like. You're going to tell me a bear is going to cut through steel with his claws?
The fact they have like nothing, they're just walking through bit of dirty streets. It's like, in the late 80s and 90s B movies where everyone just ended up in woods, save money on sets. It just feels like that. Like they're just going through these things where there's nothing interesting. They just found a dirty street in LA and went, oh, we'll record down there.
See, I wouldn't mind if they reused sets and made the same shot in a different episode. So it's like, okay, this is a normal place. People, like a hub, they come back to it. But what you do to make that interesting is not the set. You make the conditions the people are in, the drama, the conflict, the stakes be so much higher as you go through. So the next time you see the same guy take the same walk to the same street, he's got all these responsibilities. He's got all this dread, all these things happening if he doesn't act. And yet that's where you build up tension. It's such a basic writing technique. And they use Philly twice, episode 2 and episode 8. And
barely anything.
Yeah, and episode 8 is just, we occupied it. There is no conflict.
Maximus is still in Philly in episode 3. Because like he still needs to.
Oh yeah, you're right. And that was all comedy. He pops out a molar to get an extra cap to get his whatever charge, his sprocket or whatever the hell that thing was, to charge it back up.
Yeah.
It was it's for laughs. I can't talk, and then he's fine every time. He can talk totally fine. The next scene later.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, no, there's so many holes. There's so many just things happening off screen. So many things they forget about. They don't bother with the lore. I don't get the appeal aside of you turning your brain off and going, "Oh, it's Fallout. They got the old music from the 40s and the 50s, and they played it during the scenes with the action." You're like, that's not Fallout. That's just a cosmetic thing. A lot of people who play Fallout don't play it with the radio on because we've heard the songs thousands of times. We don't need to sing about Big Iron anymore. We don't need to talk about Jingle Jangle Jingles anymore.
Is that Jingle Jangle Jingle? Yeah, that's coming off.
Yeah, you turn it off after the 30th time. You're like, that's enough for me. It's a classic.
Johnny Guitar.
No.
It's almost like, remember, like, ow, it's Free Dog. No, that's coming off.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't played Fallout 3 in a while, but yeah, I couldn't stand that guy after the second time. It was too much. I did like Mr. New Vegas because, it's Mr. New Vegas. He sounds cool. And he's a charming old man, and then you learn he's not real. He's an actual AI. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. So that's nice. And having Wade Newton be Mr. New Vegas is like, that's perfect. That just makes sense to me. So I'm pretty happy. With Three Dog is like too enthusiastic and creepy. So
enthusiastic considering the pure terror that is the capital wasteland.
Yeah. He's kind of like that weird conspiracy theorist guy, and you're like, it's too much. I don't need that.
New Vegas, it's like there's still civilized places to interact with, whereas in like the Capital Wasteland, you've got Rivet City, then nothing else. So,
yeah, no, I wanted some more personality from these factions, like the Brotherhood, aside from Thaddeus being a reformed bully who realizes he might be a ghoul, therefore he must escape the like it's does the Brotherhood would really hate Thaddeus because he became a ghoul? Like, I don't think so.
how would they tell?
How would they know? Just don't tell them. It's like, hey, I picked up some weird disease, but I'm really super strong or whatever.
You don't even tell them that. You just like don't do anything because you can't tell that he's a ghoul unless you shoot an arrow through his neck. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that's something the Brotherhood would do.
Well, you could just say, hey, I somehow can regenerate body parts. Can you take a sample of my blood? Maybe we can develop a new technology to make our people healthier. Like, you could do all kinds of, even if he didn't want to reveal it, like he could do that off to the side and go, hey,
Instead, they are just inventing these new rules that like they don't accept ghouls or any of those.
Yeah, I don't remember that being an issue.
Like if they accept trans people, like what is a ghoul to them? Is this some kind of intolerance now?
This is the problem. It's because we don't know which version of the Brotherhood they are.
It's the Eastern Brotherhood, that's for sure.
100% certain. Because obviously the West Coast didn't take them because the West Coast, the isolationist assholes who hate everybody and stuff. But the East Coast is a bit different. But I still don't remember them if they took ghouls in.
I know the NCR took in ghouls as rangers as well, but like that is history.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm guessing they're basing it off Fallout 4 because I think that's where most of the inspiration for this show came from. And I think if you bring Hancock to the Pridwin, or if you talk to who's the Brotherhood Paladin Dance, if you bring Hancock to Paladin Dance, I think he says something bad about like they should be put out of his misery or something. It's been a while since I played Fallout 4, but it's probably that because I can't imagine this guy, the showrunner, being that well versed in the lore.
He supposedly was it Jonathan Nolan played Fallout 3 for an entire year.
Wow.
So, well, it's better than what fucking the Lucy actress did that everyone praised her for.
What'd she do?
She's not. Oh, I played Fallout 4 until I got to level 2.
What?
Yeah, anyway, so I tested it out. You can get to level 2 before you even leave the first vault.
Yeah, you kill a bunch of red roaches, I think.
Yeah, so I'm like, right, so she played, 10 minutes, if that. And people are saying, this is what happens when you care about the franchise, and find people who enjoy it. I'm like, clearly she didn't. She only played it until level 2.
Yeah. No, I gotta rewatch it as I do when I make my reviews. I rewatch everything and do it again to make my script. But yeah, no, there were so many bad scenes and just like there are things to raise questions about a plot. Meaning, what's gonna happen next? Like we know they're going after the Buds or whomever to find out the Ghouls family because they resolved the cold fusion bullshit just because they did.
Or Moldaver and like the other thing, like the Moldaver is completely dropped. Like that is for sure.
That was such a waste of she had not. We know nothing about her. We don't know what her motivation was outside of we have to stop Vault-Tec because I was a research scientist. And you're like, okay, well
that was so brilliant that they set up a villain and then they decide that like she's not the villain and then she's a non-character.
I love the fact. I love the fact that she installed the cold fusion thing. Didn't even test it. Just put it in. It's 100% operational, but you're not using it. You're not testing it. It's like, okay.
That machine looked like something for Vault-Tec would make, and that was bothering me. Like, how come like it had the Pip-Boy and like the Vault Boy and all those other things
Yeah,
as
like
well.
it was a piece of software that they just knew what it was,
Yeah,
and they knew the name and everything. Everything just worked, even though some guy made it like a few years. Was it a few months ago or whatever? However old.
yeah.
Ringo Bingo. I don't even know how old that guy
Like
is.
that is like the level of stupidity, like J.J. Abrams moment from that Star Wars movie where Rey just holds a knife and then suddenly like the shape of that fallen Star Destroyer, wait, not Star Destroyer, Death Star wreckage,
Oh,
it just fits in. It just like because Fallout never goes that far. That like things are just like fit in like some kind of video game. Like it has some small explanation for these events. Like even if you go to Helios One in New Vegas, like there's computers that tell you like what's the process. It doesn't just work just because you press like two buttons and you deliver one item.
this is why I keep coming up with the world building. There's just nothing.
It's
There's
sloppy,
nothing here. So
incredibly sloppy.
the story's not strong enough to get past the terrible world building. So in a lot of things, you can ignore the bad writing because the world building around it means you're invested in stuff. You're not invested in anything, and then the writing's terrible, so you're even less invested. And then it just snowballs from there to the point you're like, well, what's even the point? Like I say, episode 2 to 7, no point in them even existing. You can go from episode 1 to episode 8 and miss nothing.
Yeah, I was.
You also get flashbacks, like at the beginning of the episode, like a recap, like whatever happened.
I was reading some reviews of what people liked. I was listening to some YouTubers, and some of them liked Maximus's character, and I was like, wow! Out of all the main characters, they liked Maximus the best. And if you pay attention to his actions, he's either super competent, super stupid, super intelligent, super stupid. Like it's just these two extremes. He's either super scared, it just constant, like up and down.
I told you, Mark, the guy is the Rimmer of Fallout.
Yes.
He is from Red Dwarf, Arnold Rimmer. If you know the character, he's a cowardly, slimy scumbag who tries to cheat and weasel his way through life and everything. That's what Maximus is like. Until he gets like redeeming parts, like Rimmer does in Red Dwarf. There's certain parts he gets redeemed. Whereas that character's played for comedy, this one's played completely straight. His weaseling gets him everything he wants. And it's so weird seeing people root for this guy.
In season 2, he's gonna become a cleric.
Yeah, but they're rooting for a guy who goes, yeah, I really wish I'd mutilated my friend. Okay. It's like, yeah, I just want to commit violence to people. Okay.
I'm gonna watch the night that I swore to protect Bleed to death.
Oh yeah, where he's screaming at Thaddeus, "Come back here or I'll kill you!" It's like, oh, you were just trying to kill me because that was your whole goal. Like, what are the crazy things to say when you're trying? Like, if you don't agree with me and get our story straight, I'm going to kill you. Like, are you stupid? Like, this is. Like, you imagine telling your friend, like, okay, dude, we went through life and death together. I know I lied to you about who I am, but, just tell him why you did it. Just say, you know what, that dude, he was a pile of shit. He was a horrible person. He had no honor. And we are the Brotherhood. We look after each other. He blamed everything on me when I was just a squire with no armor, and he didn't bother to protect me. I protected you and you protected me. There's so many ways you could have dealt with this scenario. Just talking to the guy who's basically just like you, only you have power armor. That's it. Thaddeus isn't dumb. He's like, yeah, you know what? Okay, you're right. I don't trust you because I bullied you and whatever. But yeah, we saved each other's lives. That's got to count for something. But no, I'm going to kill you because we disagree and I'm in power armor. That's the dumbest thing. Like they were like brothers in arms for like days. doing all this finding and searching, and
Collaborate with each other, and like
they saved each other's life. Like they were doing it. Like, yeah, we're together. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm the guy you bullied. It's like, so what? So what? Hey, the guy has a chance to apologize. You have a chance to say, hey, I'm sorry for lying. Great, bond. Get over it. Do your job. Do your duty. Go back to the Brotherhood, and let Maximus say, hey, you know what? That guy Knight Titus, he was an asshole. He nearly killed me, and then he died. I tried to patch him up. Like you could like throw away the stim pack or whatever. Like who cares? The guy was a pile of shit. Maybe he got what he deserved. Maybe he didn't. But that's, as I said, that Maximus was an opportunist. He took the opportunity to do the job, and the thing is, they did the job. It's so dumb how they got it, because the guy was, I'm bored. I want to kill something, and they jump off the vertibird, and you're like, that is the dumbest excuse to have a plot point, where you just stop everything what you're doing and go to the ground and hunt something. Like what the hell?
Also, they happened to stumble across the exact spot they needed.
The exact spot where the guy, their target was in the wilderness, where they sent out like 5 other guys in all these different directions, and they happened to find the right exact spot because the guy wants to kill something. It's like, he's a horrible person. He's a psychopath. He's probably a narcissist because he blames everything on everyone else. It's like, just say that. The Brotherhood would be like, yeah, okay, you're right. I agree. The Brotherhood is corrupt, and that was a bad egg, and you did the job. They did this is the thing. They solved the mission. They did the thing they were asked to do, and that's the story. Done. But no, Maximus has to be an asshole for no reason outside of, you disagree with me, I must kill you. Like what? Like what? Maybe if there was like a bully, he wants to get back at the bully, but he already did that with the apple bullshit. Like, oh, climb the apple, like, oh, climb the tree. And Thaddeus is like this go man. He's like, yes, sir, I'll do it, sir. So, God, there's so much opportunity for drama, and they throw it out the door for stupid, violent conflict.
Like I say, there's just nothing here really with the show.
Yeah, they just speed up scenes to get the new scenes because we have more stuff to happen. We have 3 characters. We don't have time to let them bake and learn and grow, and all we get is that episode 8 with Lucy, where she stares at the screen for 5 minutes, stunned because stuff happens and plot reveals. You're like, okay, great, and then she just kills her mom.
Yeah.
She's like, what? Why would you do that?
The thing as well, it's like the hook is, oh look, there's New Vegas. It's like, why does anyone care?
Yeah, it's butchered. It's already toast. They already screwed up Mr. House.
Everything.
The one thing I'm looking forward to with New Vegas is another story about Mr. House, and they just screwed that up. He's just, there's lots of money to be made in the end of the world. Like,
well, I'm an evil white man. Like all of us, evil white people.
Yeah, he's this super genius sitting around a bunch of a table of psychopaths, like absolute psychopaths. And he's just like, okay, I'm smoking a cigarette, going, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, this is a meeting this guy would not attend. I'm sorry, he would not give a shit. He'd be like, we've already invested in you. We've already given you a license to our Pip Boys. What more do you want?
Also, makes him come across as an idiot as well, because the whole plot of New Vegas is he was one day out of his calculations with the platinum chip. Whereas in this version, it means that he just didn't set his alarm correctly.
Yeah, he should have known what they were going to do.
He should have known exactly what day it was.
Yeah, and then in New Vegas, he's got like dozens of laser turrets knocking down nukes in his area. And he gets like 90% or 80% of them or whatever. And you're like, okay, there better be some decent storytelling next season to get this to make sense, because right now he's an accomplice. So what?
I hope that they bring back Easy Pete. So
ECP.
yeah, he can be the main character of this story, or Doc Mitchell.
Doc Mitchell would be good. I don't know about what's her face and her dog. I can't remember her name. The first chick you meet to teach you how to make Xander root health.
Cayenne was the dog's name.
Cayenne or Cheyenne or yeah, I remember the dog.
Cheyenne, yes.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Trudy or Lucy. I can't remember her name.
How come I can only ever remember? Was it Rose of Sharon Cassidy, or is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's cool.
But
But-
yeah, no, I just think it'd be one of the few ones that if I ever think of the game, I go, oh, her and Boone, and also
Arcade.
Veronica.
Arcade Gannett. Veronica's one of the best. Yeah, she's up there.
yeah,
Lily
Is it Lily?
yeah.
and Raul.
Raul's he's a mixed bag.
I had one gameplay where I just opened the door and I killed him right away.
You saw someone boom dead. Yeah, because you went through hell to get up that freaking mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You startled me. I didn't expect to see Mexicans here.
The thing with
Raul,
Raul,
all of you.
the thing with Raul is he's lying, but not exactly telling the truth. Sometimes it's just like, dude, are you gonna be straight with me, or are you just gonna keep making up stories? I don't have time for this bullshit.
Boss.
Hey, boss, yeah, you gonna give me a gun, or am I just gonna stare at him? I'm like, okay.
Oh, finally, I have a gun.
But oh yeah, I remember I showed my brother was a huge New Vegas fan. Yeah, I think he plays it probably more than you do, Spud, with like his twice yearly.
Yeah.
Going back to it, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know whether I'm interested in the Fallout show." He goes, "It looks all right. I'll see what it is." I went, "Here's what we've done to Fallout New Vegas. This is the last shot." He looked at it and went, "No, I'm not interested."
You ruined my day now.
Yeah.
I was
no.
like, well, "Why? What's wrong with it?" He went, "What the hell's that?" That's New Vegas. He went, "No, it's not."
Yeah, like what can they ruin? Like they're gonna ruin. They're gonna ruin the Legion. They're gonna be some super macho. God knows.
I don't think it's gonna have the Legion.
No, 100%. And this is what I think can happen. The whole thing about New Vegas, they'll be there for the first episode, about 20 minutes or whatever it is, and the plot will take them somewhere else. And someone will quip, "Well, that's not as good as I remember it." And then look at the screen, to say, "Hey, New Vegas wasn't as good, eh?" And they'll bump into the Legion, and Kazar will be like Donald Trump. Because these writers cannot create anybody who's not Donald Trump.
Yeah, it'll be this-
He's gonna be played by Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, it's just
Blonde.
be like, we're gonna have the best Legion, the greatest crucifixes.
Hello, courier. I can't wait to deploy all the illegals. And then looks at the role. Like,
Yeah.
You're next.
Oh God.
Degenerates like you.
You're degenerate. You're
We'll all
degenerate.
go over the ball. I have Hoover Dam. That's my wall.
I have the best spears. Everyone has the spears. My Legion is huge. You're not gonna stop me.
You can grab the NCR by the pussy. Just the best. There's what's the president called? It was like McKenna or something.
President Kimball.
President Kimball, like Sleepy Kimball.
So weak, so tired. Not gonna be a problem.
Like, I don't even have a handicap in golf. I'm just.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
We're gonna make a
Oh,
big
okay.
coliseum. We're gonna fight. All my guys are gonna win.
We're gonna build a wall around Hoover Dam, and the NCR are gonna pay for it.
We're gonna get the best dogs. Dog meat's gonna die because I have the best dogs. Gonna kill them
We
all.
have the best cyber dogs.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. Oh, I wish.
Yeah, I would watch it just because it'll be a farce, but it'd be so stupid. You'd be like, I can't stop watching it.
And then you hear someone go like, "Oh, you guys don't have any media literacy. They're making fun of you." I don't care. It's amazing.
Oh God.
Oh, but no, the show's gonna be shit. We'll never have the joy of Kazar Trump.
Kaiser Trump or whatever you want to call him. Yeah. Oh God! Then there's
You know what? It's gonna have a death claw because they were teasing it in the scene.
They showed that skull. Yeah.
Yeah. They can't use the GoPro anymore because they are not next to the war anymore.
If they're gonna over animate it because they over animated the power armor, you could tell.
The bear as well.
The bear was okay. I just didn't like. I don't know where they came from. It was super like sharp. Those claws just tore right through steel. I'm like, that's not how claws work. I can understand if a death claw could do it because they are super strong, but they gotta make them more like when you have a muscular creature. They're not flexible. They're really rigid and strong in one motion. And unless you're like a gorilla where their bodies are so flexible that they can like swing from vines and crap like that and tear things apart. So you want that musculature, the skeleton to be rigid and fixed, which is how they looked in New Vegas. They were just hulking brute that just charged you. So that's how they should animate it. But the animation in the, I guess they did the guys on stilts, but it felt as if they animated like the shoulders so much and the torsos jacking left to right, and it felt way too mobile to be an exoskeleton because an exoskeleton is solid. It's got support for the legs and the waist and the arms, and that's it. Everything else is a hunk of steel that just is over your body, and you're carrying, what is it, 100, 200, 300 pounds of metal and servos. So it should be rigid, it should be stuck, and everything should have weight. Like if you carry 40 pounds, your back is straight. You gotta support that weight somehow. You can't just move around like your shoulder, like you're walking downtown with your shoulders going back and forth. Like, no, this is freaking power armor. It's heavy duty. And I never got that vibe. I got the vibe like there's a bunch of dudes in cowboy boots, in cowboy hats, trying to look cool. That's what I felt when looking at those guys. It felt like cowboys, but it wasn't supposed to be that way.
Oh, did you also like the rip-off of Good, the Bad and the Ugly with the Ghoul and that father and son thing?
Was that episode 2?
No, episode 2.
That was episode 7.
Episode 7.
Where
the Ghoul kills that kid.
The father and like the son is wearing the NCR Ranger armor.
Oh, that bullshit. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And that is like a rip-off.
The kid's like, are you gonna, or the Ghoul's like, are you gonna seek revenge? And he's like, yep. Okay. Dead.
Yeah, that entire scene is like a rip-off from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, really?
Straight down to the way that the cameras are lined up with them interacting.
Interesting.
It's where if you watch the movie, it's where Angel Eyes is like introduced, and he's like eating the breakfast with the dad.
Yeah.
Before he kills them, and he kills the son. It's all set up the exact same way. And I was watching that thinking, wow, this is done a lot better somewhere else 60 years ago.
The whole point of that scene was that he killed the guy holding the map, and he shot through the map or whatever the letter was, so he couldn't read it to know where to go. But he was smart enough to know who the kid was and where he lived, and somehow knew there was a brother that also knew the dead. It's like, okay, maybe. How did he get it? Like, they don't explain how he gets to there. I guess
I don't remember. killed to get on the map, though.
Yeah, he killed the elder brother. Well, the letter, I guess it was a letter saying where Moldaver was. And he must have shot that bullet straight through the word that said the observatory or something.
But when did that scene happen?
It didn't, because the only way that would have happened is if the guy was holding it like a newspaper and he shot through that exact word and it hit his chest and the blood splattered on the rest of the paper. Like, that's the only way. Or he shot him in the back and then that went through, because as we know, that gun can penetrate anything. It goes right through people and blows giant holes in them. Yeah.
Apart from power armor in episode 2.
Oh, jeez, that's...
But he can go through everything else.
Yeah, I was hoping it was the bullet he loaded with that gun, but the gun's already super powerful enough that it could just rip right through anything. So it's like, okay, it doesn't rip through power armor unless it's in a specific spot. But if you remember, during that scene... Yeah, no, it blew holes in people's faces and bodies and chests and legs, except that old lady who she got shot in the leg. Just a little hole in her leg. Like, oh, that's okay. It's like, really? Different ammo? Like, what happened? So
he shoot through 2 people as well, like with one bullet.
Yeah.
And it's like left a massive hole, and then all of a sudden it's like you said, shoot through a woman who's got lines, and
yeah, it's inconsistent. The bullets are inconsistent. The power, and I don't know if you remember in episode 2 where he pulls out the gun on his back.
For no reason.
And he just loads it, and then it's gone. It disappears from the scene. He goes back to the old gun, and then the next scene, when we zoom out, it's back on his back, and you're like, what did they forget the scene? Like, the in between cuts, like they stopped the because when they call action and cut, they they reposition all the extras and they make sure all the set pieces are done, and they totally forgot about the gun and what they were doing in that scene. When he was talking to that guy who's dying with his neck with a hole in his neck, and he's eating cherry tomatoes or whatever he was chewing on. I would offer you one of these, but seeing as you got a hole in your neck, blah, 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 and he dies. And he goes back to using the revolver, and you're like, what is this gun? This gun is super strong. Blows anything away. So yeah, the guns are inconsistent. The ammo makes no sense, especially when they explain it with the freaking teeth ammo, which is silly. And then the episode 7 with the lead farmers. Are they looking under the sand for bullets or copper casings? I don't know what they're doing. And then they collect it all and they put it in a pot like it's coffee and they light a match.
They're trying to melt it.
Yeah, that's not gonna do shit. It's like, maybe the copper would melt, but not the lead. The lead is like a freaking, was it 900 degrees Fahrenheit?
It'd make a lot of slag.
Yeah, but
to try and sift.
And then what? What would you do with all that slag? You would just make a giant bowl and then to carry it somewhere, and then like, I don't know. Are they going to make their own copper bullets? Like, I don't get it.
That was the part where I was completely understand that this is the same guy who wrote the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Because like it's the same amount of Dunn.
And I argued if they had the energy to do all this stuff and get Geiger counter, metal detectors and hunt for little pieces.
Even that like premium quality armor as well.
Oh, it was. I couldn't quite tell what they were aiming with the goggles and the masks. Like, is it radioactive? I guess. Why don't they just go to a mine and just process ore? It would be so much more efficient. You would just melt everything down. You would have a layer system, and that would be it. Everything gets run off to the side for one temperature, run off to the other side for another. It's like, there you go. You got all kinds of metal ore. You can control it a lot better as opposed to just little tiny piece of something. Who knows? Is it lead? Is it steel? Is it copper? Iron? You have no idea. And just light a fire on it, expecting it's gonna just magically. Like coffee, like percolate or something. I don't know what the hell they're gonna do.
Yeah, I saw that scene. I was a bit like, I don't know what these people. But then again, this is the same universe where you're meant to believe that a bloke has lived for decades in the wasteland, not realizing that you can't just pour sand into a water purifier to create water.
The dude looked like he was over 40.
It's like, oh yeah, I've lived here for years. I've never gone over the hill to Philly. It's like, right, okay. Anyway, my water purifier's not working. No matter how much sand I put in, it doesn't make water. I'm like, how has this person lived?
I don't like to go to the forest because it's dangerous. I'd rather stay in the sand.
Oh, that's another thing. That fucking desert right next to a luscious forest. How does that work?
That doesn't make any sense. There has to be a transition between those two lands.
Yeah, like a scrubland or something. But no, it's like harsh desert, forest. It's like
maybe the worms from Dune, just like go through the desert.
No, I feel like I'm transitioning through like levels of Sonic. Where I've gone from the desert zone to emerald.
Yeah, it's the tundra tree line, but instead of tundra, it's just hot and radioactive.
Oh my god, Philly is just Green Hill Zone.
Yeah,
Green Hill Zone. Okay. But that's what I mean. Like the world building zero, because they're like, well, these are different things. It's like, yeah, but you've got to have like geography. Like you say, you don't know where anything is because the geography is all over the place. There's forests right next to a desert because they need these two scenes to be next to each other, so it doesn't really work out. So, oh well.
Whew. All right. Oh, I got the copper and lead mixed up. Lead melts at 622. Copper melts at 1,983 Fahrenheit. Good luck getting that hot with a stove or whatever. The whatever pot you've got would melt. Sorry?
Good luck even standing near it.
Like the pot you're if you can get that temperature, the pot you're in, which is probably made of like steel or some kind of iron, forget about it. Just gonna. That
it's like most of the stuff, you have to use like stone. That's why a lot of the furnaces are made of stone, because the stone won't melt.
Yeah.
At, like those temperatures and stuff. I say a lad, a guy I work with used to work at a steel forge, and you'd have to be like constantly doused with water to get near some of them. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, good luck. You and your son in the middle of nowhere with a plastic bucket melting metal.
If they were gun manufacturers or bullet manufacturers, then it'd be okay. They need this type of metal or whatever, or they're using spent metal. It's like, okay, if they got a process going, and that's like step one, where they melt stuff or they get it hot enough to play with. Great, but they could have spent 10 seconds showing the workshop that they make bullets or anything. Just like, okay, yeah. Okay, that's their process. We don't need to know anything more. We don't need to see them make it. Just that's the first step. Great, move on. They could have done that, but no, it's just random still next to I don't know, whatever. I can't remember the scene, if it was like a chopping wood or whatever, axe or whatever. Yeah, no, it was just so they rushed. Like, even the freaking outfits, like the shape of the helmet was off. It looked like it was too big or too small on the guy's face. And why they were wearing helmets, I don't know. The goggles would have been fine. Just put the goggles on.
That's what the NTR Ranger armor looked like. And don't you remember NTR Ranger armor?
You know what? It's actually, I never go for it when I play New Vegas because it's inferior. And it's very specific to killing a ranger, so I never really get it. Yeah.
I usually grab the one that you get from Honest Arts, and there's a variety, the Elite Riot Gear in the last DLC with Ulysses.
Yeah, is that Honest Arts?
No, that's not. That's definitely not.
Those from Road.
Lonesome Road, yeah.
Lonesome Road, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
The final area has it. It has like superior stats as well.
Yeah. That's always usually the last one I play, just because I want to do everything before I get there, because then it's like, yeah, I already solved the problem with the dam, and I did all these other problems or solve the other issues with the NCR, and you get your stats high enough so you could out-talk Ulysses, because Ulysses is so annoying. I don't mind the story with Ulysses, but he just doesn't stop talking. And you're like, dude, we get it. You're obsessed with the courier and the bear and the So, yeah, no, the DLC of New Vegas is mostly a hit. There's some misses, and there's the high point, which is the old world blues, but that's where you should get your inspiration, from great lore, from great stories in New Vegas, especially if you're in the region where the show takes place in. Just like, why would you be inspired by Fallout 4? That's silly. Unless you're in Boston.
The worst thing about them being inspired by Fallout 4 is the fact that they created stuff that actually retcons Fallout 4. And I'm like, well, what's being inspired by the damn game if he's going to retcon even that? So they've retconned everything.
Yeah. No, I haven't forgotten all about Fallout 4, but I just don't want to go back to it anytime soon.
While we were watching the show, I thought, I'll start playing, I'll redo Fallout 4. I've got so far into it, and I'm just so bored I don't want to play the game anymore.
Someone made a video saying, I'm tired of not saying that Fallout 4 is bad, or some title like that on YouTube. I haven't watched it, but I'm like, what's the argument? Gunplay is better? Voice acting exists? And what else?
There's nothing really.
Did you guys remember when the Boston Minuteman theme was playing in the TV show?
Oh, yeah?
Next to Shady Sands.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
In episode 7.
Nope. Don't remember that. Don't care about Fallout 4 too much.
It's just so full of Fallout 4 references, and that is the craziest thing. Like, again, like, they haven't bothered to like look like what was happening in Fallout 1 and 2, like in the West Coast area. Like, not a single town is mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. The world is vast, but everyone's so small. Like, it happens to be your neighbor, or you're just another scene away from catching up to the previous scene that someone else was in. Like, you just missed them. They're right there. And that thing with, they brought back that stupid magical radiation detector from episode 2 or 3, and they brought it back in episode 8 because they stuck it at that fake head. Oh, there's no sign of the artifact. It's like, what is that? It's a radiation detector. It's like, what? Everything's radiated.
It's the same one.
Yeah, everything's radiated in the wasteland. What is that going to tell you?
Well, this thing's more irradiated.
Woo. Of course.
Sir, you are irradiated. Maybe you are a ghoul.
That could literally... Well, this thing's... whatever phone is more rated, that could be a deathclaw, fucking bear, it could be literally anything. It could be a horde of rampaging radioactive dinosaurs. Who knows what it could be? It doesn't have to be this one bloke.
Yeah.
Like, the best part is running in that water, looking for him. That irradiated water.
It's like, what are you doing? The whole thing is poison. Even Lucy mentions it's poison because it's radiated. It's like, how is this magical whatever Geiger counter able to figure out anomalies that are moving? Like, it's, give me some dumb fictional science jargon to say, we found this band on the spectrum that this thing looks for, because the mission is to find the thing, which is dumb, because then Maximus would have been informed on use, because he had a kit. He had this giant bag with stuff in it, but apparently they didn't give him the Geiger counter thing. Only Thaddeus got it. It's like, okay, you set him up to fail. Like, what's the point? So
I just like the fact that he uses an automatic rifle and shoots one bullet.
one bullet, yeah. When it's an automatic, I think. In episode 8, they have the guys in the power armor firing, and they're like, it's like, does he not like automatic fire? Did he turn it off? Is it selective? Like, what's going on? Yeah, and he fires and he runs away. He's like, they're coming at me. It's like it's a gun. He's 50 meters away. Keep firing. You're good.
In fact, put as many bullets as you can into him. That usually works.
Yeah. They killed the bear in 2 shots with 10 millimeter. It's like, that's, how quickly he died.
Yeah. Weird, but the guy in the power armor couldn't kill it by punching it.
Which it should have, because he threw a freaking brick, 100, 200 meters or whatever it was.
Destroy an entire building.
And destroyed a building by kicking a brick at it. Like, okay, this thing's overpowered. Yeah, no, there's so many scenes for comic excuses that sort of breaks the believability of scenes. And, maybe you could argue a bear has claws strong enough to cut through steel, or solid steel, whatever the chest plate area was. You could argue that, fine. But when it's shown to stop bullets, and, oh God, that even episode 2, or with the fight scene with the Ghoul, where he's flying around like a hot air balloon, or a balloon that's been thrown, like just been, someone popped the balloon and is going flying around the room. It's like, fine, you want to make it funny. But then how does a spark plug, or whatever the hell he tried to repair, fix a valve of air that changes how the booster rockets work? And you remember the scene at the end of episode 8 where the dad just flies off? It's like, wee.
I'm going now. My planet needs me.
It's like, yeah, I must escape. Wee. Like, oh, he's not going very fast. Just shoot him.
My family needs me.
Yeah, the family I nuked.
Villain exit stage left. Yeah.
Well, that's the joke with the guy with the no head entering the scene. I immediately thought of like comedy from a stage, where you're watching a main scene, it's all dramatic, and then this guy just like walks into the room like half naked, covered in some liquid. You're like, oh my God, what did he just come through? And there's usually a story behind that, but this is like a headless dude just collapses on the floor with no blood. You're like, oh.
Maximus, like you say, Maximus just walks in.
Maximus, what? Did you do that? Did someone blow his head off with a grenade? Like, what happened?
I also like the fact that Ghoul kills every single member of the Brotherhood apart from Maximus.
All the guys in power armor, yeah.
Yeah, and all the other people. It's like, okay. Also, how did the Ghoul get there? That final confrontation.
How did Maximus survive when he was knocked out for hours, and then his friend comes up and, oh, it's Maximus. There he is. He killed Moldaver. Go with it, dude. You're a knight now. Everyone's cheering. What? He's like, no, I didn't do it. What are you talking about? It's like, oh, these dumb scenes that just happen. You're like, this is not a good idea. Like, if he is either a guy who his story is, I am an opportunist, I want to take opportunity whenever it comes, or I want, like, they don't know what to do with his character. This is the problem I have with Maximus. Every scene he's either the thing he was before that he said he wouldn't do, or is now suddenly the opposite. So he's intelligent, or he's like, oh, I'm going to live with Lucy. I'm going to do, like, all these things just change because someone said so. It's like, no. Like, all he has to do is say, no, I didn't kill her. That's all he has to do. Next episode or whatever, next season. Like, just give me something. What does Maximus really want? Tell me, Max. Like, do you want the mission to succeed? Do you want to help Lucy? Do you want to live with Lucy? Do you want to be a knight? Like, what do you want? Just give me something so I can figure out what the hell's going on. With Lucy, she wants to stop her dad, save her dad. I don't know. Something to do with her dad. Whereas,
I don't know what her motivation is anymore about anything with her dad.
She's just
Because
following
she's
the
just
ghoul. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like she's gone from being utterly devoted to her dad and seeing what Moldaver did to everyone in the vault, then being like, no, Moldaver's right, I'm going to go after you, Dad, now. It's like, okay. There's no reason to go after your dad. Just forget about him.
Yeah, and the dad has the password to what exactly? To the thing the other guy made, and there's a software component. I'm like, what is going on here? How did that make any sense? Generic a Vault Tech password for installing energy source? That's all she needed? She couldn't find a hacker?
Bear in mind also that her dad isn't a very high-ranking member of Vault Tech either.
He's one of Bud's bud. Yeah, he's just a guy that they got that was on management. And
he's not like a or anything. He's just like maybe like a general manager, just like he's like the assistant to the assistant general manager.
Yeah, and this is usually like a password is just a thing in Fallout games where you either hack or someone gets it to you, or like this is a gameplay thing. It's like, okay, yeah, get a password going, no problem, or get a key card, or get something that opens the thing. Not we need to convince this guy to do the thing, which I've had in custody for I don't know how long he was in that cage for, staring at his weird wife eating whatever they were. I don't know what the hell that whole scene was weird.
It was his wife. She's got a necklace.
Yeah.
How the hell?
That could have been anything. Pick a ghoul that's a female with weird hair and put a necklace around her. There, it's your wife.
How the hell did the necklace survive the nuclear blast?
Well, it's resistant. It's made of cortosis.
It's made of
wrong show.
Yeah. Sorry, it's made of the same material that fridge was made of, but Maximus survived in.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times did we see that flashback, by the way?
3 at least.
I've counted 4 times.
Okay.
4 times, yes.
It's such a time I just might have shot the kid.
It's such a
black guy.
It's such a
no, sorry.
It's such a memorable, pivotal moment of his life that he wanted to be a part of the Brotherhood, or he wanted power armor. I don't know what exactly. Like, we don't know exactly what he wants anymore.
I love like how like that induces like amnesia, because essentially both him and Lucy were near the place where like the nuke was struck, right?
Yeah.
Like when the nuke fall to Shady Sands. Yet like none of them remember the events.
Yeah, but it's so long ago in the past.
It was so long ago. Like
almost like if only someone put like a timeline, a chalkboard somewhere, which had a date on of when it might have happened.
Yeah. The age of Maximus, like he's been not an acolyte. What the hell is it? Ascendant? What the whatever? Aspirant. Yeah. He's been digging latrines and being the lowest of the low in this military organization since he was 4 or 5. You're like, you're like 30 something.
Can you imagine the fact that they took a small child who'd lost his entire family and life, brought him in to be like, yeah, we'll raise you, we'll look after you, and do that. Then literally just bullied him for years.
Decades, yeah.
And he doesn't know how sex works.
He doesn't understand anything about the human body. He's completely stupid. He doesn't know what a circuit. Like, okay, that was a dumb scene with that teacher dude. It's a circuit. It's like that's yeah, of course it's a circuit. What is it? It's a circuit of what? What machine is what? You can't just say here's a wire and a light bulb. We must take the circuit away from the populace. It is technology. It's like that's a freaking light bulb, you retard.
So
it's a circuit. Like, what do you? We must find circuits.
Brotherhood in the games aren't anything like that, but like this one, it's almost like they've taken the bare basics of what we've known from the games and like exaggerated it in a way to try.
They turned them into a comedy routine. There's no way like if you look at,
Look at what?
sorry, my mic just fell. I'm trying to pick it up.
I guess but you just went look at, and it's like, oh my god, God.
I went to move it to my mouth and went boop. Okay. No, they took all the interesting elements, like when you go to the bunker in New Vegas, like the political conflict between the leaders and the security, and how the plight of they're dying out. There's no food, whatever. Like all the little basic details that you're like, how do they survive? Oh, they're not surviving. Oh, wow. So that's the problem. That's part of it. All the little basics that you could make a story about from anything. And they go, yeah, no, the Brotherhood doesn't have a problem with food. We have no idea how they make food. They don't have a problem with numbers. We have no idea where they get people aside from child soldiers, I don't know, that don't become soldiers for decades. They don't have a problem with corruption, even though one of the knights is corrupt. No, they're all crazy. We don't have a problem with the power-hungry people, except the cleric who suddenly wants to make a new faction within the Brotherhood. Like, there's all these things. They don't do anything. They're not the main story. They're just there because the Pridwin's there and it looks cool and the power armor looks cool. And they're a military organization that is partially religious or acts like a religion. And they're xenophobic, I guess.
Well, not even that xenophobic. It's just like, I don't know. They're very open, surprisingly, for things that would be okay in, like I said, 2024 California. But for everyone else, that, oh yeah, we're xenophobic and we're religious.
Yeah.
We're not too.
And they're technically a cult, which was hilarious when he says, when they're in Vault 4, and this has all the signs of a cult. And you're like, really? Do you know what the Brotherhood is and how they act and how freaking violent they are in branding you when you want to become a whatever? It's like, dude, you're in a cult.
Where did they get that branding from?
Oh, God, who knows?
I've never seen that in any of the games.
And you know what it is? It's the back of one of the fingers of the power armor. It's like, what is it supposed to look like? A trapezoid? Like, what's the shape of the I don't understand this.
The Brotherhood, the Brotherhood flag is like gears and a sword.
And a sword, yeah, exactly. That would be a tattoo. That would be a really interesting, permanent looking thing on your bicep or whatever. But to put it on the back of your neck, like, holy shit, you gotta burn some nerve endings there. You gotta watch yourself.
Like a branding thing saying like you now belong to your knight. I'm like, this has never happened in any of the games.
Yeah.
So I don't understand where that came from.
They could have done any other kind of ritual, and I think a tattoo would have been fine. Like a branding of the tattoo would be the most logical, because it's
didn't even have to do a ritual. I don't understand why they do make it a ritual. This doesn't happen in the games, and unfortunately, like the showrunners have said, this show is canon to the games, so they've just made it up for no reason.
Yeah, so you have to imagine. Are they making the next Fallout game next, or is it the next Elder Scrolls? I don't know.
I think they're making the next trailer for the Elder Scrolls game.
So another 10 years, we're going to get the next Fallout. They got to go, oh, the show did this. We got to do this now. And you can imagine the fan feedback is going to be like, yeah, do it. That's what I like now. Like, oh.
They're putting the playable ghouls into Fallout 76. You can play as a ghoul. I'm like, right, okay. I'm like, are we going to implement the fact that you can't die from bullets then?
Yeah. And you regenerate limbs only sometimes, because apparently cartilage is not a limb. It's just part of the face or hair.
Yeah.
Or teeth or nails, or just whatever we feel like is best.
That also raises the question of why would the ghoul care about having his finger cut off?
Yep.
So it's a bit like, oh no, you cut my finger off. Good thing I can grow it back.
Yeah, that was one of the jokes that sorry, I can't remember her name. One of the writers of New Vegas, Chris Avalone, he did on Medium. He did his overview of the show, and he was saying, well, the the Ghoul is a chem fiend because he just gobbles up every drug he can find. Because when Lucy shoots him, nothing happens. It's because he's saying this is a tiny drop in a whole ocean of drugs or whatever.
Full bucket of drugs.
Yeah, which means that drugs have little effect on him. But if drugs have little effect on him, then the drug that keeps him from being a feral ghoul wouldn't work too well. So you need a lot of it. Like all these weird inconsistencies of what they didn't even explain how the drug is made or what is it, where it comes from, what it does.
So why is it not existing in Fallout more beforehand?
Like that would be a huge market conflict.
It's a huge thing. Because if all it takes is like this drug to not turn feral, then you've solved a massive problem. There should be no feral ghouls. Whereas beforehand, it was the fact that it was just age to turn them feral. That's why there was more and more happening, because like the 200-year-old ghouls were slowly like getting feral because they've been the ghouls for 200 years. But no, now it's a drug.
Yep.
So,
lots of lore inconsistencies, lots of made-up drugs that we don't know how they're made. I mean, at least we have Fallout 2's recipe for jet that Byron invented or refined or stole or whatever. Like we have all this lore that they're not using. They're just using, Nuka-Cola. Here's the bottle. Here's a sugar bomb reference. Here's this, that, the other thing. It's like, okay, what does it mean? Like, this is why you have a show to expand the universe, not to just reference it and then invent new things. Like, if they just told the story of like any of these food items, it'd be like, that's cool. Why not? It's just a food item. Who cares? Go with it. But they can't.
what I find funny as well, the show doesn't know how to portray pregnant people either.
Oh God! That was. Oh jeez, that was. Those two scenes with what's her face going to labor, and then the other TV recording of a woman going into labor in water. I was like, whoa, this is creepy. Like nothing about that seemed believable.
Well, I showed my missus the opening, the fight scene in the vault where the pregnant woman like jumps on somebody and then starts shooting a machine gun from her hip. Pregnant as well, and I'm like, could you do this when you were pregnant with either of our children? And she's like, I could barely stand up. What the hell am I supposed to do with a machine gun? She went, the recoil would have destroyed my hip. It's like, yeah. And then when the woman ran out of bullets and jumped on the guy, I'm like, yeah, pregnant women don't jump like that. Pretty much just got stabbed in the eye.
Like she's like the best manager they had.
Yeah.
Very athletic.
Then obviously she goes into labour and her waters break in the most comically over the top way I've ever seen. And like I've seen my partner give birth twice. Water doesn't break like that.
Well,
it looked like that Left for Speed 2 animation, like the Flash animation with the spitter just like
gives birth.
go like that. Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what. But then also like she's walking around and then she's being pushed around in a wheelchair afterwards. I'm like, what,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and all the children are gone. Like, Smut, do you remember that scene at the very beginning when Lucy is just bragging about like the kind of skills that she has?
Yeah.
And she's holding a class. It's only for a few seconds, but you can see that like there's children in Vault 33, and after that scene, you never see them again.
Well,
I like to think that they were killed during the.
Well, I want to sound like a psychopath, but I kind of hope. Because that would add like more reasons for them to just like fucking exterminate them.
Yeah.
No. But then it make it sound even worse. The fact that they went, we could teach them Shakespeare. Like they've murdered your children. Ah, yes, but to to be or not to be? You know,
Not to be.
Your grandson was brutally stamped in the face.
Well, they're playing. I don't know what they're doing with Stephanie, but in one of the scenes in episode 7 or 8, she's like getting a bag of ice and putting it on her crotch. I'm like, oh jeez. Like there's just it's just too stupid to make comedy or to do comedy properly. They're just going to go with the crude, silly crap when that's all they've been doing with her or other characters. Yeah, it's just a joke.
The way they portrayed her, I was just like, these people have never seen what a pregnant woman's like at all. For a start, she's really happy and cheerful. No pregnant woman's happy and cheerful during pregnancy. But the happiest my partner ever got was I stubbed my toe once. She smiled because I was actually in pain. So there's no way that she's like, oh, I'm really happy about giving birth. No, no, they're not.
Well, there's other things we missed, and I covered in some of my videos. I'm sure you guys have others that I missed because there's so much to talk about.
There's so much wrong with this show, and I can't understand why people. Well, I do understand why people like the show. It's because it's been chosen as the good show of the year, and it's like what they do, like when people praise The Last of Us, or when people praise Picard season 3. Before it, everyone picks one good show, so it like holds off the fact that the entertainment industry is just terrible.
I actually spoke about Last of Us season 2 today, and like the Normie friend of mine, I told him that be prepared for season 2. It's gonna have a few surprises. I'm really curious, like if they are going to adapt that show as the game was, it's not gonna be pretty.
Well, I think Mr. Pablo's in pretty much everything these days. So good for him getting jobs, but yeah, he's
You know, I mean, he'll get jobs now because he's like foreign enough looking to like tickle like DEI boxers. Also, he can speak English. So
yeah. Well,
he's like a Mexican gardener. I'm not racist. I have a Mexican gardener.
Yeah, it's one of those things I'll probably never watch, just like The Acolyte and most of the Star Wars IPs. I just don't care. It just doesn't cross my brain. I'm like, doesn't interest me at all. So
haven't watched a single piece of Star Wars media since Last Jedi. Walked out of that cinema, never looked back. Do not care about that franchise at all. It is dead. So,
I couldn't walk out from The Last Jedi because like I was brain dead after like 10 minutes.
I think it got to the Holdo maneuver, and I just went, nah, fuck this. I went, nah, I'm done. And like my friends were like, what do you mean? I went, no, I'm just done. I'm finished. I've had enough. I'll be at the bar. And I walked to the pub across the road and waited for him. I wasn't wasting any more time. My life was, my life is important to me.
That reminds me, I still have to make that gigantic Mary Sue video I've been meaning to do.
Oh.
The feature length
the full every single, well, not every single, but most of every criteria you have for a Mary Sue, not every iteration, because there's like 24 of them. So the main characteristics of those Mary Sues, I'm going to go through every single one, and I'll do Rey and Luke, and it's going to be very simple. It'll just take a long time. So yeah, it's I've been meaning to do it. Southpaw did one stream. I just let him go for an hour. It was about an hour. He just kept talking, and he did the whole thing. And I was like, "Yep, I was about to do that," but he did it for me. He's like, "All right, I'll just do it properly next time." So
yeah, should be good. But no, I'm just like I say, once I get fed up of like a franchise or a show or something, I just go, no, never again. It's like with this. Yeah. I'll never watch season 2. We were watching it, and I pretty much fell asleep during one of the episodes of this show.
I have very little faith that these season 2s are gonna be any successful as they are now, because people are gonna pick on like that it's just falling apart. Like the entire like shock value that the first season was relying on is like gone by now. You can't like wipe the slate clean again and again, and like just start like, oh well, this is a fish out of water character again in the universe that you're a sequel to. You can't get away with this forever.
Well, there is Midsummer Murders coming this month. I think they have an episode or season 24. I don't know how long it's been going on for.
That's still going.
They bring it back. Yeah. So.
Why?
I don't know. I just heard about it yesterday. I was like, oh my God, this thing is still going on.
I stopped watching that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Still alive?
That same old village, everyone keeps dying.
Oh my God. We'd already moved on to like the second main character. Because the other guy got so old.
Yeah, they have the same old cast apparently. So.
Oh my God. No way. Anyway, we've got more important things to look forward to, like Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Hooray!
God.
See that article I shared earlier about the fact that Dragon Age already has Veilguard already has 100 official fan fictions created already. I'm like, I wonder how many of them are dirty, disgusting, all 100 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
They're all just about sex.
There is fan fiction and of course fan art and all the fan stuff that's been known for a while. I don't know if they've been around since Origins or this is a new thing, but there have been novels and novellas that the writers from BioWare have done or they've hired writers to do. So there is a large reading populace who use their imaginations to make their own stuff. So they might feel obligated or motivated to do so because there's more than just the games. And I totally forgot there were 2 Netflix things I've never heard of or never watched on Dragon Age, outside of the Pendragon chick, Cassandra story. So there's more of it. I just don't care because it's more of the same, and it's sort of lost its appeal to me. So
I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I always say this. The minute they nuked the major plot line they were looking, creating for 2 whole games by pressing the start button, and my interest in the series has gone like, I don't care. I actually just do not care anymore. I'll play Origins, I'll play 2, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm good with the way this ends. Yeah, don't care.
A lot more charitable people stop at Haven. At the Haven attack, it's like, that's good enough. I'm happy.
It's not even that. I get to when Varric is told, "Oh, you're free to go." Yeah, that's it. That's the whole season over. That's the whole series done. No need for anything else. I'm done. Thank you. Bye bye. But no, everything I read about the whole thing is it's just. Did you know there's loads of like pansexual gayness? I'm like, anyway, what about the game? Anyway, do you know you can romance everybody? Yeah, how about the game? Well,
yeah, if they surround it with what they did with Dragon Age 2 with the rivalry system, then at least it'll make sense. At least it'll be like, I hate you, but I still like you as a leader, or I actually do like you because you're a nice person or whatever. Like that would at least explain the attraction, not actually may have it equate to romance. But Dragon Age 2, we all know it was rushed and they didn't have time to differentiate between male and female, and that's fine. They got out the door. They were on a schedule. This has been 10 years for whatever the Veilguard is supposed to be now. And how many times they went back to the drawing board when everyone left, or they switched directors or writers left. So I don't know what to expect. I don't really care too much, but I'll still cover it because it's BioWare. So
I'll probably get it when it's on sale because I'm not paying full price for the game. In fact, I don't even know if I even care about getting it, to be honest with you. I don't, like I say, I don't really care about the way the story's going.
And the other thing is that you would be supporting BioWare with $60 or 70. Is it confirmed that it's gonna be $70?
I wouldn't be surprised because of inflation, and most games that come out that are AAA are around $70 anyway. So
Yeah.
And I've been
Don't
told
buy.
I've been told repeatedly by people and also BioWare that they don't like me, and I shouldn't be a fan of the series.
Also, since there's like an invincibility mod, you can just watch someone playing through that with YouTube.
God.
So
oh
you
Jesus,
don't even have to buy the game.
I cannot believe the outcry. Was it Jennifer Hepler in 2005 or 2007? I can't remember what she said exactly, but it was she didn't want to play the game.
2010, just before Dragon Age 2 came out.
2010? Okay, yeah, I can't remember the exact date. And for a writer to say that is like, oh, honey, do you know what you're trying to say or do? Being hired for a video game company, that the video game component of the thing you're writing for is irrelevant, and for that to now exist because they want an inclusive, customizable difficulty setting. It's like, come on, this is not about accessibility for like the deaf or the blind. This is literally making the character invincible so you can button mash. Like, what would you do? I don't know how you would play the game anymore.
I don't know how boring that gameplay would be. I mean, it's boring anyway, but then there's no like, oh, I can't die. What's even the point of like putting any effort in? Like, say you press A once, if you just sit there for 20 minutes and press A again, and you could take like an hour to kill an enemy and have no worry of dying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe they'll also map an auto attack button. You just hold the button, or toggle. You just toggle the button, and then your auto attack mode is. It's like playing one of those South Korean mobile games where you just auto move, auto attack, auto progress. Like you just until your level's too low, so you have to like mine for crystals or some bullshit so you can level up your characters. That's what it's gonna be. You just hit the button to get the next cutscene. And they just autoplay. Everything's going to be nodes on a map, and it automatically follows the path. And that's it.
But anyway, the new fans just care about the bloody romances. That's why they're just going to put this easy mode in. Just get to the next romance cutscene. That's it.
There's been fanfic about a lot about the necromancer we know nothing about. Like zero.
I don't know why. It's weird.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, I think we've been rambling on for enough. That was our Fallout TV series talk for season 1. I got to finish up my script, and then I'll make a video on it this week, I hope. It was tough to digest. It was tough to sit down and just figure out that was a real thing, or they really went that way, or what the characters' motivations are anymore. Yeah, it was tough for me.
I don't have any idea what the point of the show was, to be honest with you. Like, it didn't add anything to media. It didn't like.
It had like some kind of appeal to like a normal audience, like that has never experienced Fallout, because it has like a lot of pretty set pieces.
Yeah, but like you look at like the reaction to it. No one's even talking about Fallout anymore.
No one. Everyone has moved on. The same with The Last of Us. They remember that they liked it, but they can't really recite like any part of it that they really liked. It's kind of like Avatar by James Cameron. That it was a box office success, but nobody really remembers what is happening in that movie, and it's so embarrassing because it's made by someone who's a very recognizable director, like Terminator, Aliens. It's so quotable, and something like that, by making like an unmemorable shit that like everyone talks about for months, and then suddenly just shows up about it.
Oh, that's not the
You
thing.
can't really find people like that.
Well, I remember that famous quote from Avatar when Wheelchair Man goes, "It's Avatar time," and then he just like shoots the bad guy in the head with a shotgun.
Send the illegal aliens back to their planet.
Yeah.
We're gonna build a wall, and the Navi will pay for it.
I still can't believe we've got to wait 25 years for Avatar Part 3. That's a shame.
Yeah. If only there was another Avatar.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening for our rambling, unguided discussion regarding Fall TV series. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully Friday when I'm less inebriated and more cognizant of what we're trying to cover, because this was just thrown together. So, don't know. Maybe when I have an anime day, we don't know what we're doing on Friday. But we will talk to you soon. Have yourself a great evening. Thanks to everyone for hanging in. Good night.
Good night, guys.